Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV and welcome to this, the 53rd comments reply video. This is the video in which I reply to your comments. I know I get a lot of comments underneath my videos, and funnily enough, the number of comments I get is increasing, even though my viewing count is dropping. Since 2018, my viewing count is a third of what it was because of my shadow banning, but comments keep coming in thick and fast, so maybe that means you know, my viewing figures are wrong, or maybe people are just getting more vocal. Either way, it's a pleasure to respond in this sense. I don't have time to reply with text, just writing out text. I only do so in exceptional circumstances. So what I do instead is after I've gathered enough comments, which is usually every few weeks, I do one of these comments reply videos. Now, you may think to yourself, well, why do I have to watch this really long video just I only want reply to one comment? I'm not going to watch a damn video. How long is it? 9 hours, some of them? Well, some of my comment reply videos have been indeed 9 hours long. They have been some of the longest videos I've ever done. But firstly, you don't have to watch the entire video to get a reply to one comment, because I'll put a timestamp as a reply by text in the comment I'm replying to at the time. The timestamp says, "Thank you for your comment. It'll be answered approximately within the first hour, second, third, fourth, etc. of the upcoming comments reply video." And that way, you only have to watch maximum 1 hour. Also, my comments reply videos are never 9 hours long now. They're usually 3 to 4 hours, and it's actually dropping because the reason they're much shorter is because I do them more often. I used to let them go for like I used to do them every 2 months or so. Now I usually do them usually less than once every 4 weeks. I'm doing this one, the 53rd one, actually slightly early. I was going to do it this weekend, but I'm hopefully making another video then, because well, I'll be speaking at the worldwide demonstration in Oxford. So get to Oxford, 1 p.m. Bond Square. I'll be filming it anyway, even if you're not there. Now, another reason I do these comments reply videos is so sorry, carry on. As a result, I'm doing one a little bit sooner than I thought I would, but I want to get this out of the way, really, basically. Another reason I do these comments reply videos is because I enjoy doing it. It's fun. I get some really amusing comments. Even some of the rude ones are quite entertaining. And, you know, you guys like watching them. I get a lot of very positive feedback. I know that many of you watch them all the way through. So that's the reason I'm doing these comments. So let us now proceed to my comments thread. I haven't even scrolled down yet, so I might as well do that now. Yeah, I'm getting quite a lot. I always say this comments reply video is going to be so long. It's going to be this long or that long, etc., etc. And then it always ends up longer than I thought. It always ends up like much longer than I thought. I've also got a lot of comments I'm not going to reply to on one of my videos because they basically all say the same thing, and I'm just going to give them love hearts, and that's because it's the one about Kev Baker. You know, I'm sure many of you know what happened with Kev Baker. He passed away. I'll address that more when I get to the video. But anyway, Gary Robinson. When was my last comments reply video anyway? I think it was like, it was back in. Oh, it was actually the 2nd of January. Bless, not long ago, is it? So I was going to think it was somewhere around Christmas time, but no, it's more recent than that. So, funny thing about Kev, yeah. Literally, I found out about Kev because he died on that day. I found out about Kev Baker literally when I just finished recording the last comments reply video. Very poignant. So, reply to comments 52, part 1 of 2. Gary Robinson first. Yeah, well done, Gary. You get you beat Charles from Project Camelot to it. You must have more psychic powers than he does. Evening, Ben, mate. I'm listening to this while getting some work done and enjoying the last Sunday of the Christmas holiday. Hope you had a good Christmas and a New Year, mate. Cheers. I did, thanks, Gary. I hope you did too. I know in Mexico they do like celebrations like this really, really big time, don't they? I mean, they really go over the top. They wear costumes and they have carnivals and things like that. So I hope you had a good time in Mexico. Steve071, you beat me by 2 minutes. Oh dear. It's my ambition to be the first reply on Ben's reply to comments this year. All right, well, Steve, you could do it this time, couldn't you? But you have got the first in occasionally. I know you have anyway. Gary Robinson says, sorry, mate, maybe you could jump onto part 2. And Steve says, well, I am listening at 1.75 speed. That's what I talk like this. Hospital was probably stop the well, oh, God, well, I can't do that. At least you're squeaking, you know. It's when that's really good actually when you put the time acceleration on, that it lowers the pitch proportionately, so you don't end up with that. It's really high-pitched voice. It lowers the pitch proportionally. Same video, Gary Robinson. Hi Ben, welcome to 2022. Let's hope we can go about our business without any consequences this year. Well, it's early days yet, Steve, so I wouldn't count on it. Sonara's Astri, how are you? Happy New Year, Sonara. Nice, thanks for the comment. She says just, hey Ben. Hugo Rune, same video. Evening Ben, Happy New Year. Looking forward to this one. Happy New Year, Hugo. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed it. Hugo, Steve says to Hugo, Happy New Year, Hugo. Hope you and Ben meet up in 2022 and even make a short video for some of your chat. And Steve, Happy New Year to you, Steve. Sadly, there's a delay on meeting. I'm having, oh dear. He's writing about it publicly, so I will repeat it. I'm having mental problems. I've lost my driving licence. And friends and family tell me they've witnessed many of my mental fits and blackouts. I may still arrange something with Ben. I think it might be interesting to see these fits and blackouts on video. Hugo, I'm sorry, I really am. And I know I've received some strange emails from you indicating that I know you're not feeling quite your normal self at the moment. I'm sorry about that. And I do hope you find some way out of it. Smoke whatever you need to, mate, or just do whatever you need to do to make yourself feel better. I wish you all the best, I really do. I don't want to record any fits and blackouts off from you. If you want to record them yourself, please go ahead, but I'm not going to. And Steve echoes my sentiments here when he says, sorry to hear that, hope things improve for you, Hugo. And Hugo says, thanks, Steve, I'll be chatting with Ben soon. I haven't checked my email for a few days, so maybe Hugo's left me one. Oh, I don't know. Reply to comments 52-102. Gary Robinson. Ben, mate, fun fact regarding to my teeth and the whole issue of veneers. I actually had mine done in a surgery on the high street that was featured in the movie Desperado, which involved lots of scene with Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, and Danny Trejo. A random fun fact for you there, mate. Cheers. Oh, right, mate. Well, I hope they got rid of all the scenery before they did your teeth. You don't want anyone waving guns around after the Alec Baldwin incident, do you? When you're lying in a dentist chair and you can't dodge the bullet. So, well, I hope that went all right. Same video, Dark Corners UK. Pride and dignity, brother. Pride and dignity, Dark Corners. Yay. Gary Robinson. Ben, mate, in regards to the Fox News lady, I was indeed in the doghouse. But yeah, it was a bit like the morning show on Apple TV. Oh, yes, the famous story where he picked up what he thought was a trophy girlfriend for about 15 minutes. Legend Real, Happy New Year, my friend Jim. Happy New Year, Legend Real. And Charles says, yes, Ben, I'm almost 50. All right, I thought you might be sort of in that area. I won't tell you exactly how old I am, but I'm kind of in that broad range, just because of the words you were using. I think you said Wally or something. I thought there's only one way you could know the word Wally. You have to be round about my age. If you were considerably older or considerably younger, you wouldn't have heard that word and you wouldn't know what it meant. Hugo says, 3920 onwards, wormholes. Sorry, Ben, they're only real infection. All right, so I think I know what you're referring to here. Slipped time. Sorry, Ben, that's not a dimension. Okay. I don't care what Brian, who's a pretty boy then, Cox, might say. I don't care what that slimy little git says either. I actually watched an entire video with him the other day. I was just curious about that. I watched that film Don't Look Up about cometary impact. I did a review of it on HPANWO Voice. And Coxie did a 20-minute analysis of it. And it's something that I could have enjoyed if someone else had been presenting it. It was interesting. Oh, but let me just see. Just click the timestamps here. It could be that they come in and out of our universe via a wormhole. Oh, I know you don't agree. I know you don't think that either. No, I don't. What's this here? At super speed, cloaked, slipped time, etc., etc. All right, look, I actually agree with you about the slip time thing. I mean, it was just a possibility that someone was listing about how the Penta UFO sort of appeared and then disappeared. And UFOs often do this, actually. People describe them as being there and just they don't actually move away. They just sort of sometimes they just vanish into thin air very suddenly, or they just fade slowly, as if they are moving outside our universe, like the TARDIS in Doctor Who. Now, you believe that you don't believe in other dimensions. I don't know what I know you have your ideas about physics. You don't believe in other dimensions as such. The wormhole thing, I know, is to do with the speed of light and things like that. I don't have the information now specifically to disagree or argue, because you go at the moment. Charles from Project Camelot says underneath, I remember that one. Ben agrees with everything he says. Allegedly. Well, I agree at the time, but, obviously I changed my mind on some things, Charles, Like, there was a time when I thought bald heads were stupid, and I really didn't want to go bald. And I thought, oh, good. I couldn't bear the thought of losing my hair or indeed cutting all my hair off. But like you, we've both found a way to get used to the idea and even quite enjoy the look and feel of being hairless. Same video, Rick Horden. Ben, your Obama disclosure video is and always will remain a timeless classic. Oh, thanks, Rick. You know what? The bastards, YouTube deleted it. They didn't say it was racist or anything. They just said it was... Oh, they said it was spamming and deceptive practices or something like that because of the tags I was using. Obviously, someone just saw it and thought that's disgusting and horrible and evil and not woke. And so they got rid of it. Well, funny thing is, though, right, you may be able to help me here. I can't remember which one it is. I actually put it inside another video. It was one of my UFO disclosure videos. I can't remember which one it was. I actually added the entire Obama disclosure scene to I actually cut it into that video, and I can't remember which one it was. Oh god! If I could, because I could upload it to Alt-Tech and there'd be no problem. If I knew which one it was, that'd be great. I don't have the actual. I don't think I've got the actual. I might have it on a portable drive. The original video that I made, so I'd have to take it. I'd have to cut it out of that particular disclosure video if I could find out which one it was. I'll go through them at some point. Unwashed and somewhat slightly dazed, says on reply to comments 52, part 1 of 2. A fork, Kinky. Are you Italian or something? I want a fork on the table. Right, Charles from Project Camelot says here. Oh, it's a... Hang on, I'll just... here we go. I've got to play this. All right, with sound on. I don't know if you heard that. Is desktop audio working? It should be. Yeah, I'll cut it. Sid James laugh. Yeah. Charles from Project Camelot, same video. Military exercises use blanks and not live rounds, Ben. I know that. That's how people stay alive when they're on them. Yeah. Somebody saying they heard loud noises in the proximity of a military exercise is not evidence of a firefight with aliens over Wales. That's true, yes. Why won't this post? Hang on. It's not evidence in itself, but holistically with the rest of what we gathered, I think it's pretty amazing. It's pretty significant. I know there was supposed to be something called Operation Chameleon going on at the time, which was a military exercise. However, they were detonating live flashbangs or thunder flashes or whatever they're called, close enough to the hospital, and these were things which rocked the building, actually produced vibration, as live ordnance would. Well, I don't know, for some reason my comment reply tag's not posting. I don't know why that is. I'll try the next one anyway. Rick Horden says on reply to comments 52, part 2 of 2. You're quite right about The Wicker Man, Ben, an intelligent film that exists in a world of its own. To me, it poignantly addresses the all of my life led up to this syndrome, which we all face eventually. Long may it empower everyone who watches it. Yeah, Rick, it was it's an astonishing film, and it has, I suppose, a bit of extra poignance for the fact that it was something that me and Sue Stain used to watch together an awful lot, and now she's out of my life, and I'm, if I watch it, I always think of her, and it makes me feel a bit dismal. You can't help these things sometimes. But yeah, as a film in itself, it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary combination of different things. And the guy, the actor who plays Howie, the copper, what's his name? Edward Woodward. He's brilliant. He's so good in that. I mean, I watched. He was a bit of a TV star when he was older. He did something called The Equalizer, which is where I first heard about him. I thought he was quite good in that. He did another one called. Has my lights gone on? Yeah. He did another one called Common as Muck. I think he's died now. Common as Muck was quite good. That was about dustmen. All right, one of two, Charles and Project Camelot. I wonder if this one would. The analogy of battles being won against superior technology doesn't apply to Germany. Germany lost both wars, 2 Super Bowls away from home, because they had bankrupted themselves. The most compelling evidence of the principle being real is the Red Sox winning 3 World Series in my lifetime. That is a statistical impossibility that is yet to be explained. Oh goodness me! You're trying to even discuss the subject of baseball to a Brit, Charles. It's virtually a non sequitur if you say that. I played rounders at school. That's the nearest thing there is to it. Someone did explain. I knew this American bloke who was a porter. He explained the rules of baseball to me at one point. It was like, it's very similar to rounders, but it's funny about Americans. They're so insular in many ways. They're geographically isolated. Maybe that's why it is. But they play these sports. They're obsessed with sports that they alone play. American football is. I know it's not. There's a few teams outside the United States, but not many. There was an attempt to introduce it into Britain once, and it didn't work. Oh, well, and Charles says, Ben, I think you missed the point of Steve Mumbling's first comment. Steve works professionally with EMF devices and knows what they can do and what they cannot do. Gary does not work professionally with them, so isn't in a position to know what he's looking at. Well, I understand that makes Steve an expert on this. I accept that he's an expert on things like this. This doesn't mean that Gary knows nothing. It doesn't mean that he can't read instructions, he can't look up instructions. He describes in the book exactly how he went about this methodology. He worked with the Swansea UFO network to begin with. I mean, I think Sufon eventually lost interest and Gary continued freelance. But, Steve doesn't really... I don't think Steve has looked serious into Gary's methodology. I mean, I think Steve could probably be helpful you see, if Gary and Steve were willing to work together, which I know they're not, someone like Steve would be what's the word, useful as part of the investigation. But Steve just seems to say, he doesn't know what it's all about, and that's about it. Or at least unless you've seen something by him that I haven't had a chance to read yet, in which case I'll check that out later. Hugo Rune says 27 onwards. Oh, it's another timestamp here. What's this? Things. This is why they ban drugs, even psychoactive and theogenic drugs, even those which are in nature, such as mushrooms and things. You can't actually ban them because they just grow. Okay. Onward drugs, like my cannabis, I do get it prescribed. Sativex, but my homegrown is illegal, not growing at the moment. The police confiscated my plants, but no charge against me. I heard about that, mate. I really had. I'm glad they were going to NFA you for that. I mean, that would just... mind you, they're so bloody bureaucratic now. They wouldn't surprise me if they had press charges. They really will. They're just absolute robots at the moment. I'm glad they're not charging you. My problem, Sativex is under-the-tongue spray and takes time to absorb and do its business, whereas toking is instant via the lungs. Fuck it, I've had enough. Speak to you soon, Ben. All right, Hugo. Yeah, well, just take whatever you need to make yourself feel better. I mean, my mum had multiple sclerosis, which caused a lot of... It caused pain, numbness, and various things like that. And her GP actually advised her to have a spliff. And he says it's strictly off the record, but that's what I advise you to do. Of course, he wouldn't do it officially, but that's what he did say. Hugo Rune says on 2 of 2, you mentioned the moon many times. What about other planets? For instance, is there ice at the poles of Venus? There can't be, Hugo, because Venus, I don't know, is there any difference in terms of latitude in terms of Venus's climate? Because Venus, of course, has a very thick atmosphere, a hot climate, very hot environment. You know, it's actually one of the most inhospitable places in the universe. The pressure of the atmosphere is like the equivalent of being 3,000 feet beneath the sea. There's acid everywhere. It rains acid, sulfuric acid, I think, and it's hot enough to melt lead. Now, could there be ice at the poles of Venus? There could be if there were mountains that were high enough. Yes, I mean, you may have seen that video I did. I certainly did a. What did I do? Was it a UFO Truth magazine article or a HPANWO Voice article about inhabiting Venus's atmosphere in balloons? So you'd actually, because there's a layer of the atmosphere where the temperature is roughly, it averages about 30-something degrees, so it's about the same as the tropics here on Earth, and the pressure is about it's enough so that you can actually walk around without a suit on. You wouldn't need a pressure suit, either external or internal. So the pressure is about the same as it would be on the surface of Earth. The temperature is quite nice and balmy. You can't breathe. You have to have an air supply because the atmosphere is still toxic. You'd also have to have protection against the acid rain, some kind of suit, anti-corrosion suit, or at least an umbrella. And you could live in basically giant balloons. If there's a mountain high enough. Because if you go any higher, then you get it gets colder and colder, and eventually you'll get to the point where ice might form at certain times of the Venusian day, which I know is Venus rotates very slowly, so it might be actually in the shadow without sunlight for a considerable amount of time, a number of months, in which case ice could form there. But on the surface, no way. 2 of 2. Charles from Project Camelot says, numbers are an inverted concept, so it's impossible to debunk 2 + 2 = 4. Yes, it is, Charles. It is perfectly possible to debunk it. If the party says 2 + 2 = 5, then the party says 2 + 2 = 5. This is what you need to understand, Winston. Tessa1111 says on 2 of 2, so sorry about the loss of Kev Baker. He was much loved. Thanks, Tessa. Yeah, he was. That's the first comment that was on 2 of 2. As you know, I went on and made a video about this. It was just, I'll come to it in a minute because I made an entire video about it. Steve Mumbling says, Kaz Clark also claims she was interrogated when in fact she just had a telephone interview with a Wales Online journalist. She lied again. It's not working again for some reason. I can't post a comment. Oh, hang on. Let's try this one. Okay, try it there. These gross exaggerations and outright lies used to embellish the story tells us it's all rubbish. It's just a UFO nut, Kaz, making the most of a local military exercise. It's a science fiction story woven around exercise Chameleon. Simple as that. No, it's not, Steve. No, it's not. Come on, you know it's more than that. Come on, don't you? That is very dishonest, even by your standards. That really is. Interrogation is not a bad word. I mean, if you look at the bloody way the media's reported this. I mean, if I was in Kaz's position, I would actually refuse to speak to them. I would say no comment and put the phone down. So, I mean, interrogation is not a bad way. I mean, the article was bloody appalling. It really was. I mean, I actually didn't take part in I wasn't actually there when she did she was on the call, but I'm willing to, having spoken to the media myself before I realised it was a mugs game. I think interrogated is a word you can sometimes use for the way they talk about things. Incidentally, Steve, there's a new documentary out, which if you probably haven't watched yet. I'm going to watch it at some point. And I know Gary takes a very dim view of it, so I'm probably not expecting much, but I'll see what it's like anyway. And calling someone a UFO, that's just rude. You're just being rude to Kaz there. Easy to do from the other side of the world on the internet, isn't it? And making the most of a local military exercise. I've just explained, I mean, many, many times. I mean, my own productions on this, which you've watched, I know you've commented on them, and also the Paranormal Scholar one, which is very, very good, explain quite clearly it's not exercise Chameleon. It's not. Two of two. Oh dear, Ben. Did Marcus Allen neglect to tell you that part? Yes, the Van Allen belts have a very defined points where radiation is negligible. This was always known, but the probes launched in 2012 revealed the general radiation was even less than previously thought. Perhaps you need to have a word with him. Well, funnily enough, if you're referring to the little bit where the Apollo craft apparently went round the Van Allen belt, I don't know if you've seen that. Raza Vihari and I, along with Marcus wasn't there, but Neil and the others, Neil, Raza, and myself just recently done a recording, which will be in Neil's next Apollo Detectives video, which is all about that actually. One of two. Oh right, Steve. All right, now, okay. Steve is now actually referring to Gary in particular now. No professional RF guy would suggest using a toy EMF meter like the one Jones used. That's Gary Jones. There is no way to determine the frequency of the energy level you're looking at, or whether it's just one frequency or a number of frequencies aggregated. I did a video to demonstrate this. Jones's investigation is worthless. You don't understand the subject, so you can't tell it's worthless. But Steve, the meter came with instructions. When he did some of his surveys with the help of the Swansea UFO Network. How do you know he didn't use it rightly? You didn't know it correct. How do you know you didn't use it correctly? He didn't just search for radiation levels within the area of interest. He did control readings from around it. He got different results in the control area. I mean, this needs explaining. Well, how come he did that? How come he was getting different results all over the place, and then in the areas of interest he got different readings? That does require explaining. And Charles from Project Camelot. You see, Steve? See, Ben? Steve's a guy who knows how these things work. And if Gary told you he's using a £2,000 EMF, that's absolute rubbish. I zoomed in on the unit Gary is using. You can buy it for less than $50 on Amazon. In other words, completely useless. Moreover, residual EMF does not exist. It never has. It has never existed. So perhaps you should ask Gary why he's spruiking this absolute drivel to you. I'm not sure that's the case. I mean, so what would it be used for then? If you're going to spend 50 quid or $50 on something on Amazon, presumably it has some kind of purpose. It has some kind of capability. So is the capability inadequate for what Gary used it for? I will indeed ask Gary about this. It's a shame, you guys fell out because, this is the kind of people who know about these things are very useful when it comes to these kinds of investigations. I'm not against people who are professional RF guys getting involved. They can actually be helpful. I mean, who's it? Sufon you see, Sufon helped him originally. And I don't know if it's Mike or Steve. Someone there knows about this sort of thing, the way Steve Mumbling does. So, he wasn't. Firstly, he bought something which actually works. Maybe it just costs £50. You don't need to do. Do you have to spend £2,000 for something that actually works? He spent £50 on one, or $50, and he had people working with him. The thing came with instructions. I think maybe you and Steve Mumbling are painting this in too negative a way. But I will ask him. I'll ask him about that. Steve said to Charles, the demonstration I did using a Hewlett-Packard 100 kilohertz to 222 gigahertz radio frequency spectrum analyzer Probably £20,000 new. Professional test equipment also has to be regularly calibrated so we know the results we see are true and accurate. Well, it was brand new, Steve, so presumably it had its factory settings put in. I mean, but funny enough, I used to know a guy. He posted on my forum. He was Australian, lived in Alice Springs in the Northern Territories, and he was a Nexus reader. Ooh, Nexus! You've heard of Nexus, haven't you, Steve? I bet you buy copies of it just to burn ritually, don't you? He actually worked for a science consultancy firm that produced gas, calibration gas, for various things. Just different mixtures of gas to run through systems just to check, just to calibrate them, to make sure that they were reading at the right levels. And he was very much into this sort of thing, Steve, so he knew a lot about science, and he was into woo-woo. And Charles says, blimey, did you swipe it from your job? Gary was using a piece of cheap-ass crap, and you knows better than you do, apparently. All right. Well, if it's cheap-ass crap, presumably it doesn't work then, does it? It has no function at all. If it's not, what's it for then? What would you buy a £50 EMF meter for? I know that people who go on ghost hunts have very cheap pieces of equipment they can use, which are perfectly adequate. 2 of 2. Oh yeah, I should say, as for, you say there's no such thing as, was it, residual radiation? Someone said there's no such thing as residual radiation. Well, there is. I mean, it's even skeptics have found it in places like Chernobyl and Fukushima. That's basically caused by fallout. Right, Hugo Rune says, onwards, Wazuk. I've not heard that for perhaps 50 years now. I used it in my youth. Thanks for the memory. We'll use Wazuk more now. All right, Wazuk, it's a good word, isn't it, Wazuk? I quite like it. See how we live in 2 of 2. So sad about Kev. I was an avid KBS follower and always enjoyed your contributions, and it's fitting his last show was with you. Oh, right, was his last show with me? Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, I did a show with him just before Christmas, and oh, what was it? Let's have a look. Was it really his last show? There was lots of tributes to Kev Baker, yeah. Oh, he did 2 more. I mean, he did 2 more. He did Time to Reflect with Mary Dunsey, and then Freaky Friday. That must have been the one before he went into hospital. So I was the 3rd last. But yeah, it was one of the last. It was close to the last one. See how we were living, but he did get in one Freaky Friday, and presumably he was then in hospital for a week and came out on Christmas Eve, which was the following Friday. And then that was his last Christmas. At least he had Christmas with his family before he popped off. Oh man, so sudden. He's so young. Okay, 1 of 2. TK. Not sure when to comment now, as I messed up when I commented in the first place. Anyway, I compare Freeman on the Land to the Unmentionable Letter, remember? Right. I know you do, TK, and I know lots of people do. I personally am still quite... as you know from the video I made on Alt Tech, you don't have to comment on the Alt Tech site if you don't want. It helps, but you don't have to. You can comment anywhere. But I've made this video explaining why the Unmentionable Letter is real. Freeman on the Land, it's not that I'm against it, I've lost interest in it. Maybe after John Harris died, well, after John Harris died, a lot of people did, because he was kind of the workhorse, and kind of, he was also the sort of, he was the Sergeant Major, the driving force that goaded us all along. So further on that, you respond asking both, did I watch the video, and what did you say that was wrong? So I'm not saying anything as to the validity nor soundness of what was presented in the video on the Unmentionable Letter. Also, yes, I watched the video. I have always watched the video, but in future comments I shall confirm that I have watched the video and will comment in the right place. Okay, TK, it is helpful if you do that. It's not essential, but it works better that way. Back to comparing Freeman on Land to the Unmentionable Letter. That was all my comment was about. For both of these phenomena, the same crowd of people jumped fully on board with 2 feet, only to find out both are just smoke and mirrors. And nothing was really there to begin with, or both were just nothing. Probably good getting caught up in nothing. Pardon me, I guess. Sorry, you can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread person. All right. That's what that meant. It wasn't the same crowd. There's in other words, everyone who was into Freeman on the Land got into the unmentionable letter. It wasn't. There were some people who are still into Freeman on the Land now who are not interested in the unmentionable letter. I personally am still interested in the letter. I've sort of lost interest in Freeman on the Land, but I don't believe either were smoke and mirrors. I said I'm just more focused on the letter now than FMOTL. 2 of 2, Steve Sanderson art. The Wicker Man comes under the genre of folk horror. All right, folk horror. Yeah, I suppose it does. A little bit like. I was thinking of this. I could think of loads of films that have that kind of feel about them. There was the one where the guy just cuts he's riding on a horse and cuts the man's head off as he's standing there. What's that called? Sleepy Hollow. That's kind of folk horror, isn't it? Okay, here we have Kev Baker, R.I.P. I'm not going to leave comments here. I'm just going to click love hearts on people. Tina Silver says, I'm sorry to hear your news. Lots of love, Ben, says Crafty Niners. Sorry to hear this, Chris Ludacris. Mixes and sets. Oh dear, Harriet Botang. As I said, I don't want to read these out or put comments on there. Can't believe it. Yeah, I know, me neither. It's just thoughts are with you, Ben, and Kev's family and friends. Thanks, E.T. And Jules says, thank you for this, Ben. Kev was a mutual friend of ours. He loved you to bits. Keep soaring higher and higher, brother Kev. Oh dear, I'm not gonna start crying now. Oh yeah. Thanks. Oh Kev, I'm just giving love hearts to all these people. Listen, people are just little sentences here, just saying how they felt about him. Hell's a poppin' hell, Bunny, says here. There's a bit of a longer comment here. Extremely sad time for you, Ben. I'm sure Kev would want you to stay strong. Thanks for sharing this. We shall miss Kev Baker. May he rest in peace, yeah. Oh, social dilemma. That's Trevor. He puts a comment in here. Thanks to everyone who's put comments on this video. It's just, oh, there's a thread. No. WTF, says Gary. Yeah, I know what you mean. Ed Kaler's commented. For some reason I can't see it. I don't know why that is. I haven't blocked him or anything. I hope he hasn't blocked me. And Gary says, Gary puts this comment. He says, I hope you don't mind me asking what was wrong with him. Please take care of yourself. Thanks, Gary. I don't want to go into details, but he's been ill on and off, like for a couple of years. He's been in and out of hospital, and I mean, I didn't know he was that bad. I knew he was actually. Every time I saw him, he'd say, oh, "I'm all right today. I'm getting over it." And I thought, "Oh God, I thought he was like." At one point, I thought one day he'd be cured completely. He did say he was awaiting like a proper treatment that would fix it for good, or something similar to that. I thought maybe he didn't need it. I thought maybe he was over it, but you know, Kev liked to put a cheerful face on things, and he didn't tell everybody about what's wrong with him. I mean, a lot of people don't want to. They don't want, you know, they don't want to tell people how bad they are. They just want to like people to think they're healthy, because there's no self-pity in Kev at all. He just was. He was an optimist, and he was passionate about what he did and about the subjects we talked about. He just wanted to enjoy that. He was very sudden. I mean, I didn't think that was going to happen. Yeah. Oh, the Scottish UFO and Paranormal Conference 2016, which is where I met Kev. There's actually video of Kev on that video. I met loads of people actually there. some of whom I fell out with since then. But Tommy Time Television says, I do remember this video. On this day, I was in Manchester and tremendously nervous about UK democracy being ignored by a Stop Brexit petition with 4 million signatures from across the world. Tommy, I didn't know about the bloody petition until I got back. But I was on a high actually. I was in happy shock because it was actually the morning after the referendum. I just sort of woke up from sleeping. I'd slept fitfully through the night, and I woke up and saw it was like leave had won. And I had to go and get my coach to go to Glasgow, and I was like in that song from My Fair Lady, you know. Suddenly I'm several stories high, you know, walking along the road, and there was just a sense. I could sense the feeling, the atmosphere change. It's like I realised there was a new social contract that had just been introduced. And then, of course, I get back and, well, I've made videos about the whole Brexit situation. I've made a whole series of videos about them. I get back and find out that the Ramonas have set up a petition just saying, we don't like it, stop it, stop it, stop it now. I mean, the whole Ramona thing really shocked me. I really didn't think that would happen. It's like Trump derangement syndrome. I did think that they would lose more graciously and with more dignity than that, and I was wrong. Oh, Sargon of Akkad, just watch his This Year in Stupid 2016. It's brilliant because it ends with such a fantastic rant about the whole thing. Alan Watt, and John Few says Alan Watt too, yeah. And where's Ed Kaler? I can't see Ed Kaler. I don't know why that is. Ed, you're commenting. I can't see your comments. That happens sometimes. You remember it was several other people that's happened to. But Alan Watts died as well, yes. Alan Watts, actually, not Alan Watt. Alan Watt is the guy who, he's the spiritual guy, you know, the guy who was on that South Park video, you know. We see life as a journey. When it's supposed to be a musical thing and we're meant to dance. That's Alan Watts. Alan Watts is a Scottish guy who lived in Canada and did Cutting Through the Matrix, as John Few says, was really good. His Cutting Through the Matrix, his website was fantastic. And 2 of 2, Charles from Project Camelot. So, Ben, your logic has been forever debunked. You accept that America has been to the moon with secret technology, but not the Apollo technology, to stick it to Russia. Good, fine, hooray. You also say that this secret technology is capable of interstellar travel. So why are America likewise not pretending to land on Mars with this secret technology and stick it to Russia, China, Iran and Europe? Ha ha, Charles wins you. Hamburgers with legs. I tell you, hamburgers with legs. All right. If you allow a hamburger with legs to make a point here, I am a gourmet burger, don't forget, with some extra topping. I don't know. Give them a chance. I'm wondering actually if you say why they're not pretending to land on Mars. Well, maybe they will. Maybe they're going to go back to the moon. I mean, there's this Artemis mission that's been planned. I wonder what's going to happen with that. Apparently, they're bringing it forward. It's going to launch even earlier than we thought. Now, if they can get to the moon with that, then, well, it will call into question all kinds of things, won't it? Yeah. Steve Mumling says, yes, he's happy to accept the secret space program exists and can travel through the Van Allen belts with no bother at all. Apparently, everyone except Apollo can do that. And Charles says to Steve, it makes no sense at all to stop at the moon if the SSP really exists. America would have conquered the solar system decades ago in a very public way. Well, maybe they did it in not a public way. And indeed, maybe Germany did as well, even earlier. I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know the extent of the secret space program, what they've achieved, but it seems unlikely that they would develop this technology and not use it to set up a presence on other planets. And seeing as, I mean, I explained this in my latest video, actually, about disclosure. Seeing as technology like this inevitably proliferates, there may well have been conflict on other planets between various the Earth's nations. But they're not. Like I said about the Langrenus video. Do you remember that from I talked about that on my last UFO disclosure video, and you can actually go, if you go to the Langrenus channel, you'll see it. Where did that come from, eh? John Nolan talks about more tributes to Kev. Thanks, Jam Noise. Everyone's shocked and there's thanks, thank you, Jam Noise. How did he die, bro? I don't want to go into details, but it was very sudden. It's to do with problems he's had for many years. I'll talk to you privately about it. And Karen Napik says here, thanks for sharing. It's a comfort to know how well thought of Kev was and is. Yeah, and you know what? You know, Karen, I'm absolutely overwhelmed and overjoyed. And indeed, other people are, that including Jimmy Jeans. I was on his show, actually, the other day, and we were talking about this. I'll be posting a podcast notice on HPANWO Voice, but you can get it on his channel already. They've raised almost $10,000 and did it very quickly, which will cover Kev's funeral and also give the family some financial breathing space. It was very moving to see the TFR community and everyone associated with it coming together in such solidarity and love. It really was. It was very, very moving indeed. Oh, thanks, Richard, the trooper, and Charles from Project Camelot, and Benji84, Paul Curtis, First Paranormal, Clive Albert, Gary Robinson. Gary Robinson says, maybe you should always find something to replace the shows I did with Kev. Well, I've been invited onto other people's shows. I've been on Jimmy Jeans, and he's going to invite me back. And I'm actually on Billy Ray's show. That's on Aftermath FM. That's this Friday coming, 4 p.m. GMT. And Hachi mentions Jimmy Jeans there. So I can't read out all these comments. It's just like, you know what they are, and you know that how people feel. You know, you can. So, Gary's asking me here, is Johnny Whistle still around? Yeah, I spoke to Johnny, actually. Johnny was actually on the live stream with, because Jimmy Jeans did like a 12-hour marathon live stream fundraiser for Kev. And someone set up a GoFundMe to send money to his family. There was also PayPal as well, which I used to send money to his family. And Johnny was on that. So I got to speak to Johnny for the first time in years. Oh, Mr. Gianluca Viali, Sue Hayward Tonkin, Neil Smith, The Basic Materials Project, The Watcher, Bowden, Disky Dog. Oh. Warbabe, Skippery. Oh, there's loads of people. Some of them are people who don't normally comment, who are just commenting on who very kindly commented on this RIP video I did for him. Huge Arsehole says, enjoy the beautiful spirit world. He knows he knows the answers as well. Oh, bless him. You guys are wonderful, you really are. Cute Kanji's made a very long comment here, which I'm not going to read here, but I appreciate you. I appreciate your comment. I really do. I'll have. And Adam Prentice. And someone's New Year's blessing. Oh, New Year's blessings and present to present and absent friends, says 161157 Gore. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He literally just the day after New Year's Day, he was just gone. Tick says, "I'll miss your woo." Oh, yeah, the woo. He loved the woo. That's a derogatory word skeptics use, actually. Oh. Life ain't fair, Steve. Yeah. That's it. Oh, Charles says here, one of two. Charles says, Charles from Project Camelot. So why aren't spacesuits commonly used for nuclear power plants in the military maneuvers, you ask? Well, a wild guess, but perhaps the $12 million price tag for each suit has something to do with it. It could be, Charles, as well. And also, I don't think I mentioned it. I should have mentioned this, actually. You need different kinds of protections for different kinds of radiation. So, for example, alpha and beta particles and gamma rays. You need different kinds of protection for all those different radiations. And sometimes some type of radiation shield actually makes it worse, as Megan Hewell, the skeptic, actually, the pro-Apollo proponent, who I went to see her lecture, actually, Oxford Skeptics in the Pub. And I did a review of it. She said, because she's an astrophysicist. She's very young. She's about the same age as my daughter. But she obviously knows her stuff, and she said, if you sometimes the material, like the heavy metals, can just simply create more particles, which actually makes it more dangerous. They create more deadly particles from the high energy radiation, the high energy radiation hitting them. More comments on Kev. And Jack Burns says, I only found Kev's channel recently. Oh. Jack, you can... All his stuff's still there. I think... I don't know what Chris and Gio, Chris Gio and Cherie are planning to do with the archives of TFR, the TFR archives, because Kev had every show archived behind the TFR paywall. I hope they'll just simply make them free. That's what I would do that in their position. I don't know if they will. That's, I think, would be the best thing to do. But Kev also has a lot of his material on YouTube. Thanks, Pimlico Fox. All right, 2 of 2. Israel Diego Rivera, Genius 2, the real genius, says, anyone who thinks the Apollo missions were real are nut jobs. Well, I think they're wrong. I think nut jobs, that's just kind of rhetoric to say they're nut jobs. I mean, most people think the Apollo missions were real, including people within the conspirasphere. Old Gareth, God rest his soul, he never got on board with me on this. He always thought that they were real. Cornelius Cruz says the clown who actually needs someone to explain whether or not Alien is a horror film, for fuck's sake. Diego Rivera, Alien is a horror film, isn't it? Or maybe it certainly scared me. Oh, here we go. Diego Rivera actually says here, would you call Alien a horror film? Yes. It's a science fiction horror film. It's actually, and Charles says it puts the willies up me. It did me and all. I mean, I definitely call it a sort of it's a science fiction horror story, yeah, with a lot of scary bits in. It really is, yeah. John Nolan says here, now Kev is done, you're the only show in town, Ben. Oh, John, I'm not. There's lots of others, luckily, including other hosts on TFR. I think Kev, from what I gather, was probably I think he was the top host on TFR. Whenever you Google TFR, and it's his name always comes up first. But there's lots of others, There's lots of others, and we're all here to pick up where he left off and continue his mission. Patrick Patel, thanks. Changed the channel. Denise Moore, all right. Gary Robinson says here, I always thought it was suspicious that Kev never made over the 100k subscribers mark, considering the momentum his channel had picked up over the years. I'm pretty sure even if it's the 100k mark, upon which a channel gains personal support contract at YouTube to help them further grow the channel. I always suspected YouTube somehow kept their foot on his neck to make sure he didn't pass that line. As you know, they have various technical ways of doing this. It makes no sense. He was stuck at 90k for so many years. 90k, yeah. I know people who've been stuck at 99k. Who was it who complained about that the other day? I think it was Sargon of Akkad, or it was Dr. Jordan Peterson, or one of the sort of like one of the intellectual dark web people complained that they're at 99,000 subs continuously, and they can't get above it, even though they're picking up new subs all the time. And I mentioned the other day, I've been unsubbed from a channel. Do you remember? I was unsubbed from that UFO Proof channel. Just after I had subbed, I went back and I was unsubscribed. Had to click subscribe again. That happens quite a lot, actually. My mouth's dry. Hang on. Happens quite a lot, actually. It does happen regularly. And there's people, like, for example, if you hit 500,000, you get, like, extra bonuses as well. You get, like, the little plaque you put on your wall. Again, people were saying, I'm stuck at 499,000. Can't go any higher. And I think YouTube are deliberately suppressing that. They're suppressing certain people. As you say, keeping their foot on their neck. Thanks, Cupcake Paper. Oh, and we have here 2 of 2. Cornelius Crew. Marcus Allen, Scott Henderson and Bob Williams' film experiment was supposed to demonstrate the film would be destroyed by a vacuum. That experiment showed unstable photographs can be developed from film exposed to vacuum, even when noodleheads like Henderson and Williams developed said film improperly. The film was not destroyed. Well, how do you know they developed it improperly? I mean, they developed it like they developed the control films, I imagine. I mean, the control shots presumably used the same process. But as you know from the actual film that was put in the vacuum chamber did produce pictures that were substandard. The colours were all wrong. Things like that. Oh, Erosima Volk. Oh, thanks, Erosima. And there's more comments for Kev here. Kevin White says, what happened to Johnny Whistles from the early days? Oh, Johnny he left the show. I don't know why, but he left the show. I think he maybe just didn't want to do it anymore. He appeared on the marathon tribute show that Jimmy Jeans did. I actually was on the stream with him, which was nice. Oh, 2 of 2. This is Charles from Project Camelot. There is a debate that needs to happen, a very important debate about the nature of physics and indeed reality itself. Which came first, the buffoonery or the mumblingism? Perhaps this is best put to the people like Sabine Hossenfelder. I don't know. Which came first, the buffoonery or the mumblingism? I don't know. I think basically probably both the buffoonery and the mumblingism developed over time through natural selection and mutation, and eventually from previous forms of buffoonery and mumblingisms. There was probably proto-mumblingisms and proto-buffoonery that eventually evolved into the towering pillars of strength that they are today, clashing like the titans of the ancient world. As for Sabine, I don't know what she'd say. Probably, the mumblingism is correct. Got it, you will. I do watch her. Honestly, right, her channel is actually pretty good. You know, there's a lot of skeptic propaganda in it, but some of it's like really interesting. Like she talks about wormholes. I don't know what Hugo Room would say, but her video about wormholes is very interesting. She obviously knows her stuff. You know, she knows that she's one of the best science bloggers, actually. Science vloggers. Although Anton Petrov, I think, is quite good as well. Pi 6742 on Kev. Yeah, a lot of people saying stuff about Kev. Oh, and here we have David Smith. Who is saying... Oh, right, this is about the RBE thing again. Okay, all right, okay. Who is saying they want an NWO via RB and RBE? Another main point to an RBE is that nobody has that kind of power over another, like we see in today's system. Who's saying that? Well, they are saying it themselves. A lot of the think tanks, the New World Order think tanks, are saying this. You know, the Agenda 21. They're talking about things such as various features of RBE, such as the universal basic income and things like that, and the smart cities, the control grid, carbon footprints, things like that. I don't have all the details with me. Oh, that's the end of an hour. But basically, that's where it all comes from, David. I don't have the details with me. I'm sorry. I'll try and find some actually, because I'm going to take a break now, and I'll be back for hour number 2 very shortly. Am I flickering? Oh, I'm flickering. Too bad. Okay, I'm back, and I'm badder than before. So what's it for hour number 2? And believe it or not, I'm over halfway through. You know. I was David Smith. I'm going to have to reply to this comment on this second hour here, so I'm putting another timestamp here. The people who want this sort of thing. Let me just Google Agenda 21. Sustainable Development Knowledge Platform. The Guardian. God, the Guardian's got a big thing here. Yeah, it's a non-binding action plan by the United Nations to regard for sustainable development. And you have things such as COP21. COP21, which refers to the 21st conference, not the century, which is the 21st century, actually talks about saying basically that emissions would have to be tailor-made to prevent certain degrees of temperature rise, according to the scientific consensus in climatology, which meant if it was necessary for China to deindustrialize by 80% to prevent a 1.8% sea level, it's not sea level rise, that's the effect they claim, a temperature rise before pre-industrial levels, although not the medieval warm period, we don't talk about that. They would just do it. They would just say, right, now that to me isn't RBE. That is a resource-based economy where rather than having an independent producers producing for their own purposes, you have like producers that are all connected to each other, producing for a greater societal motive. And so he carries on. So again, who are the ones in positions of power saying they want an RBE? Well, nobody in public. You don't hear people like Bojo and Biden saying they want a resource-based economy. Well, Biden probably couldn't articulate that word anyway. They're not. They're just bringing in. They're just supporting measures specifically to do with climate change that inevitably lead to that outcome. David continues. The idea that whoever these people are will remain in some kind of position of extreme authority is completely opposite of what RBE is supposed to be. Yeah, that's it. As Marxism, as we know from experience of Marxism, it tends to produce the opposite of what its supporters think it's going to produce. The idea was that Marxism will produce an entire, completely fair, equal, and peaceful society. Instead, it produced a society rather like the situation in Animal Farm, where you have the pigs ruling everything, become indistinguishable from the humans, and the people live in poverty and continuous conflict. David continues. I think Trump is in favour of whatever would benefit his own self-interest and very little more. No, I don't think so. I think he is not. I think he even when he was a businessman, he was somewhat of a philanthropist. He was described as being very good to work for. Of course, he's motivated by profit. Every businessman is. But he has higher aspirations. David continues. I'm not seeing how I've been misled, but I am seeing how people you supported and advocated for haven't really done anything that offer more of the same, such as with Boris. All right. I wrote an article about Boris Johnson, which was on HPANWO Voice. Put it up there a couple of days ago. It's on there now. Just asking, is Boris finished? And I've said this many times on this channel, but I lament about the fact that, yes, I got it wrong about Boris. I don't think I got it wrong with what he was originally, but he didn't have, for whatever reason, he didn't follow through with his destiny, the course he was on, which was to become Britain's Trump. He abandoned his irreverent attitude, his populist his populist position on things, and he's merged seamlessly with the global elite, especially over the C word business, and it's just been depressing to see. It really has been depressing to see. And I saw an op-ed in a newspaper a few weeks ago that really I found heartbreaking, and it was called "Bring Back Boris." It's a metric pun on "Build Back Better," and the people there were saying, "Oh, I love Boris the way he used to be when he did Brexit, and he stuck two fingers up to all the bureaucrats in Brussels and everything." And he said things like, "Why can we bring back that Boris?" But unfortunately, only Boris can make that decision. He has to. He's the one who decides what he does. We can't force him. I do wonder, is it too late for him to turn back from the dark side? I don't know. But as for Boris, you're absolutely right about that I totally changed my position on him. Whatever reason he's not doing what he was supposed to do, and he's just being just one more horrible bureaucrat. And as we've seen, a ridiculous hypocrite. I'm sure he's not the only one who had wild parties when everyone else was in lockdown. Do you think Emmanuel Macron sung carols with his family on Skype? Do you think Kamala Harris did that? Angela Merkel? Of course not. They all hypocritically break their own rules. You know, when you've got to kiss your grandchildren through a closed window by putting your lips against glass, they were living it up in huge parties together. The thing is, Boris is the only one who's been taken to task for it. This is the thing. I think maybe he doesn't have the self-control he needs to be Britain's Trump, which inevitably means, for whatever reason, he's developed a lot of baggage which they're using against him, and this is just one example of it. If you're going to be in politics and you want to do good, you've got to be whiter than white. You've got to give them nothing at all, which they can then dig up and use against you. David continues, "You're trying to say people advocating a system that gives more freedom is somehow going to equate to us being enslaved. It doesn't give you freedom, though. It dictates it dictates that you take part in a certain economic and social system. And if you don't want to, what are they going to do with you? What if you say, no, I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm not going to cooperate with this. Maybe that's what they're building those new prisons for, the ones with no bars on the window and nice views. Have you ever seen those?" David says, "It's just another claim. And at the same time, you support ideas like that letter, which can't be named, who continue to make false promises. So who's the one being misled?" Well, I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I may have made some mistakes. I may change my mind on things, David, but I've made an entire video explaining why I think the letter is real, and exactly why the promises it originally made, he, she, or they, whoever they were, didn't happen. In other words, Biden, presumably Biden being in the White House was not part of the plan. So it's very easy to say, and a lot of people I know have said this, well, obviously that means the letter was wrong. The letter was just fake. It's just something silly we need to put to bed, they were saying. But I don't think that's the case. I think what happened was the plan failed. But it doesn't mean everything's lost. It doesn't mean all is lost. I explain why. I explain why Trump is looking so confident and why the Biden administration is looking so damn scared and continuously looking over their shoulders in fear. One of two. David Smith, "You do straw man sometimes. You read some of my comment, but then started talking about people who are saying..." All right, what's this? On purpose. You say on RBE, the thing is, the people who promote RBEs do use rhetoric like that. You know, even Klaus Schwab. I mean, they do. I mean, all right. I think I'm referring to the. All right, you're referring to the fact that RBE is based on the same kinds of principles as Marxism, and the people who support RBE say the same things about Marxism. It's not just about personal, social, scientific correctness. It is about a principle. It is about something moral. But you see, they do. And is that straw manning? It's not. All right, maybe. And I say, then you use it as a way to link to Marxism. There have been many videos I've heard you do this. Well, David, if they're using the same kind of rhetoric, and they have the same kind of goals in mind, is it unfair to link it to Marxism? Now, I've watched Zeitgeist. I know that they dispute this, but But then when you watch Peter Joseph and the things he said, he's a miserable sod. He really is. I do sense that kind of anger, that kind of the red rage in him, the way I do. For example, my own character, Julian Spencer. I don't know if you've read the Roswell trilogy, but in the second and third books, there's a character called Julian Spencer. I sense that about him, and I sense that about people who talk about RBE. David continues, I don't think your case for falsifiability is accurate either. You're waiting for someone to disprove your claim, not proving what you claim is actually true. Well, you see, I think I can't prove my claim is actually true because I'm dealing with simply an analysis of statements and points made by people telling you why they support what they do. So that's not really proving my claim is true. I don't know how I can. But at the same time, I mean, if you think that these people are making significantly different statements and have significantly different worldviews, then by all means explain why. Charles from Project Camelot says, yes, I agree about the straw man. Moreover, resorting to Wurzel Gummidge is not very convincing. Have a cup of tea, Aunt Sally. I can't do the impression like Neil Geddes Ward does. And right, here we go. One of two. I actually did a text reply here. David Smith, and the longest comment has gone. That's why I can't put links. YouTube just sends them off into the ether. That's annoying. All I added was the watch part address of the video Peter Joseph did responding to Stefan after that little debate. Stefan responded after the debate and Peter put a response to his. You should check it out, Ben. I think it's pretty accurate an assessment of Stefan. I put in a text reply here because I have actually seen that video. But I just state here, David, I can see a comment you posted 2 hours ago that states, starts, who is saying they want the NWO and RBE. I've deleted no comments at all. My spam folder is currently empty. I don't know why this happens. Recommend you back up all your comments so you can repost them if necessary. I've reported the bug to YouTube. I'm familiar with the post-debate statements of both Pijo and Molly and will address them. Okay. And David says, thanks, Ben. It was a slightly earlier comment where I responded to a lot of what you said in your reply. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have made it through YouTube's barriers. I might not comment for a while due to the unreliability of YouTube. When I get the time, I'll try to make a reply video instead. Keep up the interesting content, pride and dignity. And I said, thanks, David. We'll do P&D. Hope you continue to comment. If it doesn't work the first time, post it again. And I said here, your advice of putting it into a document or WordPad to make sure it's good, just a ball ache, and I've done that before, and it's basically a case of me having a WordPad comment that can never be posted. A good book idea, a good book idea there. A comment to myself. A comment to myself. That's the title. Oh yeah. Molly does this like. They do this debate that lasts for over 2 hours. Then Molly does like an hour and a half long reply to Pijo. Then Pijo does this really. I'll just show you. But it's quite funny actually. I want to show you a bit of it. I'm sure I'll probably get a third party for this, but I just want to show you a bit of it because it's really, really great. Let me just find it because I did. If you find something really good, always download it, and I did download it. Here we are, Zeitgeist versus the Market. Where is it? PJ's version. Here we are, Zeitgeist review. Is it this one? Let's have a look. My mouth is like dry. It's terrible. I don't know why.
Hey everybody, this is Peter Joseph.
October
October
here 6th, we go.
Video, he just someone of this nature.
Right, he does this. I'll just put it on full screen. Here we go. Hang on, just put it on full screen. I'll just... this is quite funny, actually. Because I'll put it on large size. Hang on, and I'll put it on display. On screen display. Let's have a look.
Only two possible realities out there for the mentality the Molyneux possesses. Either A, he's a pathological bullshitter, which means that he doesn't even know that he's full of shit, and he lies and he spins and he twists any point he possibly can to make it appear like he's right.
That's the bit where he does the speeded up version.
He is a classic con artist. The first 13 minutes or so of this video, he just sort of rambles on different subjects, giving himself congratulatory praise in his experience as a debater, and then planting a bunch of very bizarre seeds, which kind of come up later in the...
There you go. I think you can get it on P. Joe's channel, actually. Oh, God, he's a miserable sod, isn't he, Peter Joseph? He's kind of like Richard D. Hall. He's just, like, really morose and oh, God, he's yeah, I couldn't really get it. It'd be difficult. It's actually a debate where he gets really angry and wound up. And Stefan, of course, doesn't use the usual thing. Which, oh, if you're going to be like that, you can go. Goodbye. He can't do that with this guy. So he just, I'd really appreciate it if you would stop being so rude and things like that, he says. Oh, it's funny. Whatever you believe, whatever your position, it's a very, very interesting debate as well. Okay, 2 of 2. Lesbian eBay wrestling. That's what it says. That's what it's called here. Now, Ben, you are controlled opposition, and you know it. I know it, and now all of YouTube will know it. You worked for government agencies and claimed to be fired. Well, it turns out you never were fired. You have infiltrated our spaces for far too long. Own up and apologise. Make it easy. Lesbian eBay wrestling. I had no idea that Richard D. Hall was using female stock accounts. Richard, I know it's you. I'm not a shill. I'm not an agent. Like nearly everybody you think is an agent, I'm actually not an agent. And Charles from Project Camelot says underneath this, oh, stop, haha. It's a good roast, though. Controlled opposition who reads out refutations of his own claims every month. Makes propaganda videos that keep getting banned. Worked as a porter on the minimum wage for years. As for infiltrating our spaces, as you get older, you get larger around the middle. Well, I think whoever I infiltrate, that happens anyway. But Richard's a fit guy. He goes swimming in pools because he's off grid now. So he doesn't suffer from that like I do. Oh dear. But lesbian, I think I met this person I counted on Twitter as well. Oh yeah. More from Kev Baker. Oh bless him. There's lots of, and here we are. Part 1 of 2. Charles from Project Camelot says. Oh yes, Vanilla Fielding was the rich widow with the gold teeth. The dentist was also a gynecologist in that film. I'll leave that to your wild imagination. Ah, that's the Bottom movie, yeah. That is really good. I mean, Bottom with Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson, it really translates. It transfers very well to the big screen, actually. It really does. It's the film is hilarious. I went to see it at the cinema. Honestly, people were rolling in the aisles. All right, Soylent Green Watch Party introduction. And we have Social Dilemma. Hey, Trevor, Brother Porter, Pride and Dignity. Charlton Heston films, he says, have been playing lots where we live. His apocalyptic films, just watched Omega Man with my daughter. All right, I've not seen that one, Trevor. I really haven't. And the same video, Ravenhill, the Sly Serpent Merchant, 1968, says, enjoy Soylent Green, Ben. I did think it was an unusual film back then. And he says here, but I like Charlton Heston in the film. The Omega Man is another film I recommend with Chuck Heston is too. Right, yeah, Trevor mentioned that. I'll check that out. But it's Soylent Green. Yeah, I did. Obviously, I made this video before I'd even watched it because I wanted to watch it with fresh eyes, then get back to you and do like a live stream. Charles from Project Camelot says, okay. Oh, for some reason I can't post a reply to you. It's just hourglass in, Charles. I don't know why that is. Okay, but I'm watching it as entertainment with no with no tinfoil hat intentions. Fair Charles, watch it any way you like, mate. Watch it any way you like. Lisa says, Lisa from Cry Freedom. Hey, Lisa, says on Soylent Green Watch Party introduction. This backdrop rocks, Ben. You should use it all the time. Oh, I do on most of them, Lisa. That's my backdrop with Russell. Yeah. And same video introduction. David Splendid Isolation says, brilliant idea, Ben. And a great first choice for obvious reasons. It's basically, David, this is David Splendid Isolation, who I know from Paranormal Radio as well. It's basically because it is 2022, yeah, the year which the film is set. He carries on here. I can't say how many times I've watched Soylent Green and Omega Man over the course of 30 years. Too many to count. Excellent films, and of course more relevant today than ever. The Omega Man is also about a global cataclysm, this time with a doomsday virus based on Richard Matheson's original novel, I Am Legend. Remade in a film, of course. Oh, right. Of course, I Am Legend, I've watched. I actually reviewed it briefly in my zombie video. Now, I Am Legend is actually a really good film. It's Will Smith he's alone in a world full of zombies. I didn't know it was based on a Richard Matheson book, but Richard Matheson's a great author. I mean, I've watched a lot of things that Twilight Zone episodes, What Dreams May Come, and then I think Duel as well, the one about the lorry, the mad lorry driver. That's Steven Spielberg's first movie. They're all based on Richard Matheson's stories and novels, so he must be a good writer, very good writer. I've never read. And Soylent Green is based on the novel, which I have called Make Room. Oh, Make Room, Make Room, Make Room. Oh, you've got the book, the famous book that it's based on, right? I've heard about that, but I didn't actually. I've not actually read that book. And in the book, Soylent Green isn't you know what. That particular element was introduced by Charlton Heston for the film, which is pretty damn clever. Oh, really? Well, David, that's kind of the central point of the story. So, and they did say in Wikipedia that the film was loosely based on Make Room, Make Room. It's odd, isn't it, that the repeated word "make room, make room" is like the Georgia Guidestones, where they say "make room for nature, make room for nature." It's repeated. I wonder if there's a connection there. I don't know. Soylent Green Watch Party introduction. Rothenberger 000 said, "When I'm thinking of a definition of a thick cunt, the first thing that comes to mind is you." Oh, really, Rothenberger? Right. When I'm thinking of the definition of a troll on the internet, who's all mouthy when he's online, but won't come to conferences and confront me, even though I tell you where I'm going to be, the first thing that comes to mind is you and people like you. Jarrah White. Hey, Jarrah, how you doing? Oh, this is the review. Soylent Green Watch Party review. Jarrah White. The ending was... Jarrah White, of course, is one of the Apollo detectives. And he's got his own channel, Moonfaker, is really good. The ending was spoiled for me in other media. Oh, sorry about that, Jarrah, but, it's just so famous. It's a bit like Darth Vader Luke's father kind of thing. Most people just assume everyone knows it, so there's no point putting in the spoiler. But as I said in my email, knowing the ending in advance surprisingly makes it all the more creepy. Every on-screen death suddenly holds more significance. I know what you mean, Jarrah. Yeah, especially when they, everyone who dies, including the guy who's murdered in the luxury apartment. It's like that scene where they just shove him on the back of a dust cart, and the furniture girl just says, "Nah, I remember when my grandma got a funeral, and no one gets funerals these days." So I know what you mean. Of course, with the scoop as well, with the riot, they just scoop these people, living people this time. They just scoop them up and shove them in the back of a lorry. And it's like, to me, what happens to them when they're in the lorry? Are they just taken, moved away, and then just let go? I mean, it's never explained in the film, but obviously the implication is they're not. They are actually, once they're in the lorry, they're killed, and then just go to the same place as everyone else. Review, Elizabeth Clayton. Hi, Elizabeth. Hey, I found you through What's Under the Antarctica Secret? It was great. Oh, that's the... Oh, Elizabeth, that was that really good film that was on the Zohar channel. You know, the Zohar Earth Mysteries channel. Yeah, it annoyed me, actually. I made this really, really good script. They produced the video. The video was really great. After about 6 months, they just delete it. And they've done that to all their videos. It's like you don't have to do that on YouTube. I mean, YouTube, you can just produce as many as you like and keep them there. But for some reason, they just keep deleting their old videos, which was sad because I mean, I've got no complaints. You know, I produced a script. They paid me. They produced a really, really good video, which I was very proud of. I mean, obviously, I only wrote it. I only wrote the script. I didn't do anything else. But I was very proud of what they did and what was produced. But I'm glad you found me, Elizabeth. Thanks very much. Review, Huge Arsehole says, scary stuff. Can see it coming through. Well, funny, I don't know if you ever watch Fritz Media. He's a guy from Manchester who does the kind of Vichian vignettes of urban life and auditing and things like that. He had a video put up basically showing a riot in McDonald's one night in Manchester, and I put a little comment in quotes saying, "We've run out of Soylent Green." Well, what goes into those things, isn't it? It makes you wonder. I mean, yeah. In fact, Monopod BS says on review, McDonald's may well have been impressed by the story. And nothing that seems as Burger King, home of the Whopper. Well, you remember they found all that horse? Do you remember they found horse meat in something? I mean, and that's not meant to be there. Well, what else goes into our food that's not meant to be there? Introduction. Discerning Consciousness podcast says, great movie and extremely prophetic. I would put it up there with the likes of Network and Wag the Dog, Ants. Thanks. It is. I think it is a great satirical a parody or a metaphorical production, I think. Yeah, it is. What's the word? Yes, it's allegorical. It's very allegorical, I think. Just Ants, yeah. More from Kev. Oh dear. And there's more people. Lots of Kev comments here, which I'll go through. A review. And David Splendid Isolation says, in Simonson's apartment, you can see the first video arcade game ever made. Computer Space from 1971. Yeah, Shill thanks him for the toy. Of course, that's the sort of thing was extremely novel in the early 70s, not so much in 2022, where computer and video games have largely taken over the world's entertainment. The machine itself was made by Nolan Bushnell, who went on to found Atari. All right, Shave, that's interesting. I actually did read that bit on Wikipedia. That's interesting. It's an interesting thing they put in there, actually. Of course, an old 70s arcade game would be a bit obsolete in 2022. I imagine they didn't design something a little bit better, just something animated that looked a bit better just for the film. But there you go. They didn't get everything right. I mean, I often find that futuristic fiction says more about the time period it's actually made in than the time period it's set in. The same goes for historical fiction as well, to a lesser degree. It says more about the culture it's made in, I think, than what you find when it's than the culture it's set in. I mean, so for example, you'll notice that the boss copper, he has that big 70s afro haircut as well, doesn't he? As well, that of course is something you don't see nowadays. Afro hair you tend to get braids and things like that, and dye, and lots of people walk around bald like me. But as for historical fiction, I mean, you get, for example, World War II movies have changed enormously during the years since World War II. I mean, they used to get like. They tend to be more sort of like clownish now. The Germans are more sort of like evil clowns in World War II movies today. Another Kev comment from Al Pepper. Thanks. Tessa says on review, Edward G. Robinson's last film, he stole it out from under Charlton, just like he did in 10 Commandments. Oh right, yeah, they were both in that one as well. Yeah, that's it. Because he's best known for like for the biblical epics, Robinson. As I said, as I say in the videos, there's a sad story associated with his appearance in Soylent Green, which is and more from Kev there. Oh dear. And Clary says, "My sweet cousin, Kev." Oh, it's your cousin. I'm sorry, Clary. I really am. Apollo Detectives 9. Kerry Woolley says, "Where are the HD photos of the moon, China? We should have thousands by now." Well, that's a good question. I mean, they actually do have some pretty good photos, Kerry, but they seem to be a bit selective over what's going on, because there was that weird thing where they found that big box-shaped thing on the horizon. They went close to it and found it was just a little lump of rock. That didn't make sense to me. It was obviously something much larger. Just checking something, that's all right. Rick Horden said, "Cryogenics would make an excellent live stream subject, Ben. All the best." I'm thinking of doing one on that, actually. I've got it on my list. And Charlie, Chili943 says, "And something on MH370. Right, I haven't thought of that, but I'll make a note. Let me make a note. Cryonics live stream, and I'll put underneath. I'm just making this in my notes here. MH370 live stream. Yeah, because that would be interesting, I think, because there's been updates on that lately. So good idea, Charlie and Rick. Jose Munoz says on live stream. Oh, the last one was on live stream too. "You're the man, Ben. I've been waiting for this movie." Oh, thanks, Jose. Live stream again. Jock of Ages. "Oh, I missed it. I switched my notifications off because I was gaming. I'll pretend it's live or something." All right, Jock. Sometimes you don't even when you click the notification bell, something doesn't come through, thanks to YouTube. Ravenhill says, "Is there a scene in Soylent Green where a black guy with a huge afro gets knocked out?" I can't remember now. I was on my way back. I saw it. Yeah, I think it's the vicar at the church, if I remember rightly, Ravenhill. Yeah. There's like a big punch-up at the church because the church is full of like loads of people. Yeah. But I think he's the guy who gets beaten up. There's like a fight at the end, and that's when, you know, Thorne, Heston's character, says, "Soylent Green is people! It's people!" Warbabe is just waving their hand. Warbabe 1951. Hello, Warbabe. And we have a thread here on Soylent Green livestream. "Here's one of your mates, Ben." All right, who's this? What's this?
To all you
it's Jarrah. It's Jarrah White. "Trump lost. Get over
gullible
it."
Trump supporters who were so certain that Trump would be re-elected and inaugurated today, well...
I know. I've seen this. I know, I have. Well, you know, I was one of those, I'm afraid. I was. I mean, I don't think I'm generally gullible, but I did think something would happen. I thought the unmentionable letter had something up their sleeve, and I was wrong. This doesn't mean it's all over, though. This doesn't mean he won't come back. I think he will, and it'll be before. If he comes back, it'll be before 2024. You'll have to. I mean, he could come back in the midterms. I mean, there's a very interesting article I wrote about the way he could actually get back in the midterms. Now, Styx Hexenhammer thinks he can't use that method, but I'm not so sure. I'm working on an article about that. Charles says, "I really don't see Trump going very far if he tries to run again." Hang on, if he tries to run again, the Republicans won't risk getting behind him again. I don't think he'll go very far as well if he runs in the 2024 election. I don't think he'll go very far either, Charles. But not for that reason. I think the Republicans probably, most of them would get behind him. In fact, opinion polls, I think Sargon did this in his podcast of the Lotus Eaters. Opinion polls show that his approval rating has risen since he was president last time, but among the GOP members. However, the reason I don't think he'll get very far again is because, you know, if he doesn't address the whole corruption behind the whole system anyway, because of you know what, which I can't say on YouTube, he won't have a chance in any election. He doesn't. He won't have any chance. David Smith says to Charles, let's hope so. He's still pumping out BS to the gullible, though. It's always tomorrow. Tomorrow something's big is happening syndrome. Well, you see, at some point, I think something is going to happen. I think there is going to be something's going to break. I can see Trump back in the White House before 2024. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to be pleasant. I think there's going to be some kind of fight, because the political system has shown itself unworkable in this situation for reasons that I've said before. Steve Mumbling says to Charles, he would run on the something I can't say script, basically what I talk about on Alt Tech. If you watch my Alt Tech videos about the election, as soon as his campaign began, just like he did in 2016, I think you're right. No one with an IQ bigger than their shoe size would want to go through that bullshit again. He didn't mention that sort of thing in 2016, though, Steve. He didn't. He did say that he thought something, I can't talk about would happen. And Charles says to Steve, there's some bluster going on about Trump running again, but after the Capitol riot and then blaming Mike Pence for just doing his job, I think Republicans see Trump as too much of a liability. Well, not according to opinion polls, Charles. However, the so-called Capitol riot, which was actually a staged event, it was basically a photo shoot organised, which unfortunately a lot of the protesters fell for. As for Mike Pence, I don't know exactly why Trump fell out with Mike Pence, because he said that Mike Pence could have put a stop to it. He had the powers as vice president to put a stop to it because he was basically chairing the meeting. Mike Pence claimed he didn't have that authority. He couldn't overrule the decision of Congress. Trump said, yes, you did, and they ended up falling out. I remember when Mike Pence unfollowed Trump on Twitter, which, of course, is the modern equivalent of a political split. Charles also says in reply to Steve Mumbling, it was one of those strategic protest nominations that backfired. There was a growing sentiment that Washington was, as an entity, was too much out of touch. So backing Trump was a shot across the bow. Nobody expected it to go as far as it did. When it came down to the final candidates, significant numbers of people weren't voting to get Trump. They were voting to keep Hillary out. Not this time. Normally, you see, people do vote for negative reasons. That's the problem with the democratic system we have. There's a terrible malaise in democratic countries, actually, which I've noticed. I mean, people are generally more likely to vote for negative reasons. Like, I don't like that person, but I'll vote for them to keep someone I like even less getting in. I do wonder why it is that we can't, in a country, in a system where we're supposed to be able to choose our leaders, why is it we can't choose better ones? Why is it that in democratic countries, the people who rise to the top tend to be some of the most loathsome people imaginable? People who are corrupt, they're selfish, they're cruel, they're stupid, they're weak. They just seem to embody every negative aspect of humanity imaginable. Conversely, when it comes to dictatorships, I know there's some right stinkers when it comes to dictatorships. There's also been people of enormous wisdom and people like Marcus Aurelius, or Ashoka the Great, and Akbar, the Emperor of India. India produced a lot of those kinds of peoples, absolute monarchs, but amazingly wise and courageous and decent people. So I don't know what it's all about, but I think you're wrong about Trump in this case. Trump was an exception to that rule. If you'd said that about any other candidate, I'd agreed with you. But I would have agreed with you, but not this time. People were voting for Trump. Trump did capture the hearts of many people. Steve Mumbling replies to Charles, just as significant numbers voted for Biden just to get Trump out. Well, Steve, I can't reply to you on YouTube what I think about that. You know that. So I'm afraid I've got a real comment reply for you there, because what you just said is completely false, and I can't tell you why it's false. Charles said they did, although they weren't expecting Grandpa Simpson shaking his fist at the sky so much. I won the election. Oh. More Kev Baker comments. Oh, bless you, darlings, all of you. Soil and Green Live Party watch party. Lesbian eBay Richard D. Hall Wrestling says, "Who was that on the phone? Your MI5 handler, you crisis actor shell." Oh dear. Lesby, whatever you call yourself, Richard, whatever it is. I did take a phone call during the live stream, but it was to do with work. I had to. All right, I had to keep the phone on sometimes because my clients need to call me. I'm self-employed. I sometimes have to arrange work for the following day. Live stream, that's the Soil and Green live stream. Israel Diego Veras says, Ben Emlyn-Jones is an expert revealing Welsh UFO leaks. That's right. Leaks. Leeks. Get it? Oh, I remember the old Eisteddfods. And I tell you what, we used to have an Eisteddfod in our school on St. David's Day, and in my first ever school, and you could smell the leaks, and we all had to pin one to ourselves, and you could the smell of leaks was just overpowering in the room. I remember that's one of my earliest childhood memories. Oh, no more from Kev. Oh, the afterlife, a second reply to Stefan Molyneux. Diego Vera says, I thought you were going to say Stefan Molyneux had died. In his own words, he said he's made of star excrement. Yeah. Well, a lot of people think he is made of excrement of some kind or another, star or otherwise. I don't particularly, but he's often accused of that by Peter Joseph and other people. But no, he hasn't died. I mean, he's actually pretty fit. I mean, I think he's 50-something, but he's a pretty fit guy and in good health from what I can tell. He did have cancer, though. Yeah. But, no, he's... it's interesting. And the same video, the afterlife, second reply to Stefan Molyneux. Lisa Rue. Hi, Lisa. Great show, Ben. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks very much. I met Lisa, actually. She was on the live stream with... or she wasn't speaking, but she was on the live stream with... in the chat box with Jimmy Jeans. Same video. Kerry Woolley says 3040. Yes, all right. Okay, it's not a timestamp. Unfortunately, they used a full stop instead of a colon, so you end up with like a. Oh, where is it? Oh, come on, where is this? Come on, let's show me the plot. Oh, hang on, sorry. Oh, where's my channel? Let me just have a look. Right. Okay, 3040. Okay. Or is it because there are political, cultural, and psychological forces at work in our society polluting the pure scientific method? I think skeptics have this idea that, science always draws these perfect circles wherever it goes. And it's kind of like impervious to anything that might get in the way. Yeah, yeah, it's exactly, Kerry. Yeah, I see what you mean now, Kerry. I see what you mean, Kerry. Yeah, I agree with you. The same video, Kerry Woolley. I can't. Again, it's hourglassing. I can't put a bloody reply video to you, Kerry. I can't put a reply to your comment. I'm sorry. But you say here on the same video, I haven't read it for years, but the New Scientist magazine used to touch on what your average person would call hokum. It did have a couple of skeptic propaganda pieces in it. Yeah, in fact, Michael Shermer has a column in there, which I don't know if because he used his website really just for sharing links to the column he had in there. Although, as you know, Michael Shermer seems to be changing his tune quite a bit lately, doesn't he? The Afterlife, Tommy Time Television says, the guy I always used to... Oh, by the way, Kerry, I've done several videos about Michael Shermer, which I recommend, because his change of mind, his change of heart, it's very interesting stuff. Tommy Time Television says on Afterlife, the guy I used to sit with in the pub died on Monday. Oh, I'm sorry, mate. Condolences. Death is a concept I cannot grasp. It's in a way it is, yeah, because it's It's just like you're just gone from this. You have a presence in this world, and it just ends. And it's like falling into some kind of black hole. It's a weird idea. I mean, I know from people like who've had near-death experiences, it's actually not like that at all. It's actually not. It's not unpleasant usually. It can be very, very nice, and it's nothing to be afraid of. But I mean, obviously, if someone came in here and pointed a gun at my head, I'd be very uncomfortable with that, thinking that my life was about to end. You know, I would feel upset about that. Tommy, excuse me. Tommy continues. Everyone around us is going to die at some point. Every day that passes is a less with a person you love very, very much. Yeah. Yes, indeed. This, of course, is... I've been kind of mugged by reality in the last 10 months when it comes to that point, Tommy. And it's made me aware of mortality more probably than... Even when my mum died, you know, I didn't feel it the way I felt it in the last 10 months. Probably because I wasn't very close to my mother. In fact, we kind of like... We were completely apart, really, emotionally at that point. But, of course... During the last 10 months, I've lost people I feel very emotionally connected to a greater or lesser degree. But four of them altogether. Yeah. And Saxglan says human beings are incarnated angels. Well, some of them are, Sax, but some are more like incarnated demons. And John Nolan says on the afterlife, I hope Kev Baker is in the afterlife. Oh, thanks, John. I think, you know, as I said, I think it's very likely that he is. You're going to get a love heart for that. And he's out there somewhere. I don't know where. It just feels a very long way away from me right now. And I do hope I will find him again one day, like I do Ian and Gareth and all these, and Shirley and all these other people. I'll find them one way or another. I tell you, I'll cross the Bardo, I'll cross Purgatory, I'll cross whatever barriers lie in my way, and I'll find these people. John Nolan says, I wonder what Brian Cox was in a past life, Ben. My guess is some kind of slug or cockroach, or better still, a head louse. Something irritable and itchy, probably a pubic louse. Something that gets into your short and curlies and makes you scratch continuously. I think that's what he probably was. Charles from Project Camelot. Brian Cox is so amazingly wonderful, insightful, diplomatic and humble that a concession was made and he was allowed to come back as himself. Oh, goodness me. Oh dear. Charles. I would rather have a continuous crotch infestation and have my arms cut off so I'm unable to scratch than to have two continuous incarnations of the Coxer. Crafty Nihilist laughs at that. And Crafty Nihilist says, I heard he was an irritating fungal infection. That's probably more likely, Crafty. Yeah, it's something like that. That's probably what he was. All right. Here we go. The afterlife. Oh, we've got a long comment from David Splendid Isolation. Death is wages. God pays us in death for our immortality. As the judge says to the rapist murderer, you've earned this sentence. We tend to make excuses for our behaviour that we're not that bad and deserve this or that, even life. Yet in comparison to the holy God of all existence, we're reprobate, and justice demands justice. We were all born into the flesh, our first parents taking on a nature that we've all inherited. It's because of this that we had no choice to be born in this state, that God has taken pity on mankind and was born as a man himself into the flesh, joining himself in our line, to our line, to represent all of us in his life and death for our sins. Even though he was blameless, he took upon himself our penalty. Justice is therefore satisfied for all who put their trust in him. The flesh still dies, as it must. It is fallen and corrupt, but God, who cannot lie, has promised us everlasting life, raised to life in him. When we place our trust in the Saviour and when we put him on like a parachute and stop trying to flap our arms to save ourselves. If we decide we don't need the Saviour and will pay for our wrongdoings ourselves, then that will happen. We can never pay it off. We're in a perpetual state of sin, and we cannot save ourselves with our good works or pain in eternity. Christ is the only way, and the whole reason why he came for sinners to save out of sheer love for us in our plight. This is the gospel of Jesus Christ in a nutshell, and all the world's religions are different forms of the same thing. Man trying to work for his salvation, to be good enough to earn life or enlightenment. Only in Christ can we learn to stop doing this, and that it's only the completed work of Christ Jesus on the cross of Calvary that has provided the way. Salvation is God's grace, through faith, not of works, lest anyone can boast. It's interesting to hear people like Molyneux describe what he thinks gospel Christianity is, and yet miss the mark so badly, either knowingly or otherwise. Well, thanks for your input there, David, and it's a long comment you put here. I know you have particular beliefs, and we've discussed these things before. I personally believe, I do like the Gospels. I like reading about Jesus. It's a very moving story. There's a lot of wisdom in what he says. But I don't understand why somehow our own works cannot redeem ourselves. Or redeem ourselves, or as you say, work our way to salvation. To me, this is contradictory, because the story of Adam and Eve is not literal. It's symbolic of the relationship between humanity and the divine. But it represents what's the fall of man. And this ties in with other ancient mythologies too, about Atlantis, for example. To me, it actually refers to something real, that we did, in a sense, did fall from a state of grace. But now, the problem I have with Christianity is that Jesus is mentioned in many mythologies. For example, in Islam, he's the last prophet before the final prophet, which is Muhammad. I don't understand how somehow the sin that's the original sin, which may be the equivalent, for example, of this fall of man, can somehow be taken away from us via this central scene, the core of Christianity, which is, as you say, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. To me, it's more likely simply to be a symbol for our return to grace, which can be found symbolically in other faiths and mythologies as well. Even in things like Lord of the Rings, the destruction of the One Ring at the end of Lord of the Rings by J.R. Tolkien, who was a very spiritual man. Or the return of the Great Lion, Aslan, in the Chronicles of Narnia, which was, of course, by a man who was a devout Christian. I really do think that. By the way, if you've not read the entire series of the Chronicles of Narnia, please do. Most people just read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and leave it there. But the other books in it, and there are, how many are there all? The Magician's Nephew, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, Silver Chair, and The Last Battle. There are 7 books. It's worth reading all of them. It's a long read, but I've read them over and over. I think they're really good. David Smith just says no. So David Smith basically says kind of the same thing as me, but he doesn't qualify. He just says no. He doesn't actually explain why he thinks you're wrong, or even if you're partly right or wrong, as I do. There you go. No, says David Smith. Cat Squatch Returns 93 says Christ was an enlightened man of many in history, and that the Roman Empire realised could concoct a backstory for its own names. Oh, you've been reading Joseph Atwell, haven't you, Cat Squatch? Rishi this says death is the truth we lost when we were born. We're going to find it when we go back to our mother darkness. All right. And Charles says to David, well, you're a bundle of fun, aren't you? I bet people love you at parties with such uplifting and positive views on life. I don't know if he's being sarcastic or serious there. Rishi this says to Charles, darkness is my mother, darkness is our mother. All right, Rishi. And David says, indeed, to Charles. David, I've known David a long time. He regularly posts on HPANWO Radio as well. Charles says to David Smith, if people like David's splendid isolation find their own company so loathsome and depraved, then why are they so rude as to impose themselves on other people? Not a very loving thing to do, is it, trying to make others as depressed as he is, just saying. Charles, do you think Charles? Do you think David's blended isolation is low? Is really, what is it? Loathsome and depraved and depressed? Do you really think he is? I didn't get that impression from him at all. David Smith says to Charles, the important thing is God loves you, Charles. If you don't believe that you're going to hell, that the hell he created for all the people he loves, and if you don't believe it, you're going to hell. Oh, right, I see. God loves you, Charles. If you don't believe that, you're going to the hell he created for all the people he loves. That's like George Carlin, isn't it? He was very good. And Bill Hicks was also another great critic of this sort of thing. And Charles says to David Smith, it must be a huge ego boost for Splendid Isolation and his ilk, thinking they're the only ones. Maybe everyone else doesn't want him to know they are there. Can't you imagine why? Oh, I see. So religions are basically one of these parties where everyone pretends they're not going to turn up, and then they just burst into the door at the end of the... Just 5 minutes before it starts. Is that right, Charles? That'd be amazing, isn't it? Because they all say... Because the Muslims say, you know, you have to accept the Prophet Muhammad and the word of God in the Quran. The Christians say you have to accept Jesus. The Jews say you have to wait. You know, our Messiah's going to turn up at some point, and you have to accept him. The Buddhists say you have to sort of empty your mind and meditate and reach nirvana. Hindus say, well, if you keep reincarnating long enough, eventually you become, you know, one of the, what they're called, you know. They're all just saying, they all think that there's not enough room at the party for all of them, so they're all pretending they're not going. And then it's a bit of a kind of, what's the word? It's role utilitarianism, isn't it? They're all saying, well, we'll do this, but no one else will, so we're the only ones. But then they all turn up at the end. Well, thanks for that, David, and both Davids and Charles and everyone else and Rishi. Thank you for that very interesting thread. Nance Hardwick said, that guy is arrogant and annoying. Right, I suppose you're talking about me. Oh, dear. Well, Nance, there are lots of other things you could watch if you want. I bet you watched the whole damn thing, didn't you? It's like these people always do. They watch it to the end and said, God, that was an awful video. That was 1 hour, 45 minutes of my life. I'll never get back. And I'll say, well, you didn't have to watch it. I'm not exactly tying you up and pinning your eyes open like in Clockwork Orange and putting the screen in front of you, am I? So maybe you enjoyed it more than you're willing to admit, Nance. Jason Gavella, another good show, Ben. Thanks, Jason. Much appreciated. And we have Jason Gavella says here, Jason Gavea, sorry. Is it Gavea? Yeah, it says it on The Afterlife again. Hi, Ben. Have you ever read the book The Medium Explosion by Robert Ginsburg? It's a guide to navigating the world of those who claim to communicate with the dead. No, but I'm interested in things like that, Jason, so thank you. I will check that out. Rishi says on Afterlife, knowledge comes with death's release. All right. Well, that's useful. A lot of people say that, actually. I mean, one lady I knew who was actually a nun. She was a Roman Catholic nun. And I used to talk to her when I used to go, in the days when I used to go to church. I did say to her, you know, I used to ask her certain questions, and she said, we will not know the answer to that on this side of the grave. That was kind of her cliche. We will not know the answer on this side of the grave. Jeff Moss says, I'm not a prophet or a stone... This is a reply to Rishi. I'm not a prophet or a Stone Age man. I'm glad to hear it then, Jeff. Just a mortal with potential of a Superman. I'm living on. Oh, right. I don't say you're getting into cryonics. Charles says here, Albert Einstein's dead. Or relatively so. This is a reply again. Albert Einstein is dead, or relatively so. Or relatively so. He smiles down on the daisies as he pushes them up from below. That's good. I'm surprised Hugo Rune hasn't said anything, because I know he's a big Afterlife skeptic. Cat Squatch says on Afterlife, I bloody hate Chris French. Oh, do you? I like Chris French. I think he's cool. I've actually met him a few times. And he did this conference called Seriously Suspicious, which was for ASAP. It was one of the ASAP conferences. And he invited me to speak there. And it wasn't recorded, unfortunately, my talk. I did my own studio version of my talk. Unfortunately, it wasn't filmed. But it was great. You know, there was a good 100 people there, and it was a really good event. Chris was great. Chris is cool, actually. You know, we have here Schritt. I didn't mispronounce that. It's got an R in it. And he says, the best bit. What's that here? It hasn't turned me into a skeptic. Oh. Oh, that's why I read that thing. I read the article which turned this guy into a skeptic on the Stephen Molyneux forum. He said, I used to believe in Psy, and I read this article, and now I don't. And I went... Actually, I had a challenge. Can I read this and not turn into a skeptic? But, of course, I momentarily did turn into a skeptic. I shrugged it off after a while, but yeah. And, oh, I'm nearly done the second hour. And then Charles says underneath, Crafty Nihilist, clip that and make another video. Oh, yes, please do, Crafty, please do. Yeah. Oh, oh, here we go, end of the comment. I'll do that on the next segment. Okay, guys, hour number 3 and a new timestamp. And this came in just too late for the last hour. It's a really old video I did years ago called Viceroy's House Film Review. And it's one of my roving reviews, and I quite enjoyed it, actually. And Sai Shindy says, nice, just one word. Thank you, Sai, you get a love heart for that. Glad you enjoyed it. The Afterlife again. Charles from Project Camelot. I noticed you kept getting strange noises for your headset. On an Afterlife video, no less. Mary still loves Dick, apparently. Mary loves Dick. Mary loves Dick. Oh, of course, he's on the other side now, isn't he, Derek Acora? I wonder if he's going to come back. I know Helen Duncan has come back to several people. Ah. Yeah. Oh, this is another. Oh, right. This is the same timestamp. I recognise. And Charles from Project Camelot says, "Has anyone ever sneezed so hard they turned into Patrick Moore?" I hope I wouldn't want to be Patrick Moore. He's dead. So if I sneeze so loud I turn into Patrick Moore, I'll end up killing myself. Crafty says, "Ha ha ha! I nearly died laughing. That's going in the next video." Oh, Crafty. Can't wait for it. I haven't checked your channel for a while because you've been uploading a lot. Well, please do. Please make a video about that. That's so good. Charles says in reply, first one was Terror of Ben. The next one will be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Jones. Yes. and Crafty says, oh my God, it will. Did you see my new one, Ben? I'm actually a genius. Oh God, hang on a sec. Have you? Oh, and Crafty. I haven't. Oh dear, I haven't checked your channel out, Crafty. I'm sorry about that. Let's have a look. Oh, we're confused again. The challenge of the... Oh, I've got to watch your voices thing, haven't I? Oh, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Jones. Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I'm sorry, I haven't checked my emails either. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm a bit late to the party on that one. I'm sorry. I will check it out. I will. Definitely. I will. I'll just put a little reply here. Sorry, only just seen this. We'll check it out after recording. Smiley face. And Charles says, probably the most important disclosure of the millennium. And there I was calling him good old Ben, while all the time he was hiding his unquenchable libido. You've got to watch the quiet ones, Charles, haven't you? Crafty said, oh, and my duty to humanity is done. Let's have a look at this. Oh, this is the one. Hang on. I'll leave it open here and I'll check it out. I will have a look at that. I'm really sorry I haven't seen it yet, Crafty. I'll give you a love heart for that. Duty indeed, says Charles. Ben has been popping Russells like there's no tomorrow. Oh, Ben. It's not the cheating that hurts, it's the lies. Oh, Russell, you got used to it, haven't you? And Crafty says, well, the story of his life is an erotic psychological thriller with a small amount of storyline. What do you expect? Charles says, what do I expect from that? Probably a therapist. Oh, dear. I'll leave that open now. Afterlife. Charles says, so a deer in the wild runs away from the hunter because it's psychic, huh? Well, not always, but because it's worth watching. And when he carries on here, it's not because they evolved to have hypersensitive hearing. have 360-degree vision and can feel the vibration of a human heartbeat through their feet, can instantly smell and taste minute changes in the atmosphere, it's because they're psychic. Well, it's all those things, Charles. It's their physical senses, but then there's this additional sense as well. It's possible not all of them have it, the same way not all humans have it. But it's worth watching. Watch the article, I think, or read the article, The Sense of Being Stared At by Rupert Sheldrake. It explains it all there. The Afterlife. Teflon-shouldered snake. That's a good name. It's like a They Live avatar. Playing the Dawkins clip every 5 seconds makes this annoying and unlistenable too. And Crafty says makes it depressing. Well, people were complaining because I had like the Christy Winters mooing cow, and they complained about Penn and Teller. I mean, I need some kind of notification thing, don't I? I'm sorry you didn't like that bit, Teflon. I really don't. One of two. Oh, again, I can't put a comment. It's not letting me put a comment in, Charles. What I'll do is I'll probably scroll through later and say that, something like that. But Charles says it could have been worse at the dentist, Gary. Oh, is this a thread? No, it's not. Oh, this is one of two. While I'm at the dentist chair, I'd rather see shadow people than an old guy standing over me saying, "Is this safe?" Apparently, somebody was actually being hanged, and they just before they pulled the lever and he fell to his death. He was asked to make. Do you have anything to say? Any last words? And he just says, "Is this safe?" You know, he had a humour to the end. Oh, Skeptics 2018, a really long old video. Charles says, "I made it to the Skeptic video, Ben. It took me a while because I didn't believe it existed." Baboon Tish. Yes, Skeptics proven wrong again. The Skeptic video exists. One of two. This is reply to comments. Charles says, "Your Steve Cambion voice sounds like a man who offended a gypsy and was cursed into the body of a goat." Yeah, and that's exactly what Steve Cambion sounds like, doesn't he? Stephen Cambion's laugh is like it's the opposite of Sid James. If I can't do an impression of it. You've got to hear it to believe it. But do check out his channel anyway, the Truth Seeker channel. Some of his videos are actually quite good, although he loves a bit of the old drama, but I do enjoy it. I mean, you know, it's... Crafty says, Ben, please don't make the jingle so depressing. Every 2 minutes, we're going to die. Richard Dawkins. Nearly had to turn it off. I'm sorry, Crafty. For my next video, I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to use that jingle regularly. I only used it for this particular video. The Lights Below says on Afterlife, excellent. This goes out the same day as the new series of Afterlife by Ricky Gervais on Netflix. Ricky is a huge Dawkins fan, of course. Yes, he is. In fact, Ricky Gervais appears in that. What's it called? The Unbelievers. This documentary. It's a really interesting documentary actually called The Unbelievers, which has, I think it's Richard Dawkins and what's his name? The long-haired guy. A bit smarmy. What's his name? Oh, I hate it when I can't think of bloody names. Hang on. Lawrence Krauss, I think it is, isn't it? The Unbelievers. It's a documentary like about the Unbelievers. Is it on Netflix? Yeah. Yes, The Unbelievers. It's got like other people in it. Like, here we go. Hold on. Come on. Oh, it's not. Well, here we go. A 2013 documentary with Richard Dawkins and Lawrence Krauss. But it has like it has little short like clips with. It has Sam Harris, Woody Allen, Penn Jillette, of course, David Silverman, and of course Ricky Gervais. It's worth seeing. Ricky Gervais is kind of Ricky Gervais is kind of an early 2000s new atheist. He doesn't really come out with anything more original. For example, I mean there are more sophisticated atheists really who deserve to be more famous than the Dawkinsian kind of new atheist crowd. For example, I think Daniel Dennett is probably a bit more intellectual, you know. But anyway, he's got the face and the voice for TV, so he's the one who gets famous. Bailiffs Out of the Blue, another old video. Number one fan says £500 a letter. Oh, yeah. Let them add to that old credit bond, eh? They're decreasing the value of the credit bond. They don't want to pay it back. It would dissolve the bond. It would be worthless then, wouldn't it? Right, Basis Project Christmas Lectures 2021. Lemsip. Hello, Lemsip. Good to hear from you again. I noticed there were videos of the talks on Brighteon, on the Brighteon website, but could only see the names and descriptions, not the subject matter, unless I clicked on each video. That's Brighteon. I haven't actually uploaded to Brighteon yet. I do have an account there, but so I don't know exactly how it works. But these alt-tech sites vary a lot in functionality and reliability. Lemsip says, oh, now I can find them. Some of Mark Devlin's videos are on his channel on YouTube, but not the Basis channel. Yeah, I think he filmed his own copy of that, Lemsip. I know that Heidi TTFN did her own videos too, and Miles didn't seem to mind that. I know there's a lot of people who... like... there's a couple of other bootleg ones too. Same video, Lemsip. R.I.P. Rosa Query, yes. Query, I think her name, she pronounces that. I loved her videos, and she knew so much about Agenda 21 from her work in real estate, and able to understand the official document and read between the lines and explain it in her videos in easy ways to understand. Yeah, I only watched a couple of her videos, Lemsip, but I thought she was very good. And I love the interview she did with Dave Cullen, Computing Forever, is excellent. Charles from Project Camelot on Apollo Detectives 9. It took over 400,000 people. For those who can't count, that's 400,000, capital words, people working together to successfully put Aldrin and Armstrong on the moon. So you're saying, after all these decades, not one single one of those 400,000 employees has let the secret slip. Absolute rubbish. All right. This is the idea that you can that if you have too many people basically initiated into a conspiracy, it becomes kind of top heavy, and you can't keep the secret anymore. Well, I don't think that doesn't take into account about the psychological aspect. I actually got into a debate with this person. What's he called? Hang on. Yeah, here it is, Charles. You can read this for yourself. It's called "Conspiracy Theories Mathematically Impossible?" ? And it's worth watching that, reading that anyway. But it was applied to David Grimes of Oxford University. Yeah, he actually lives in Oxford. He's an Oxford guy. I'd love to meet him for a pint, you know. But basically, there's things like grapevine and scuttlebutt. You know, you have to secrets inevitably get back to you. And he claims to have worked out a mathematical formula for calculating on how long a successful conspiracy can endure. His equations are based on three factors: the number of people briefed into the secret, the length of time the secret has to be kept, and what he calls the intrinsic probability of the conspiracy failing. This means inevitable occurrences of ineptitude or rogue whistleblowers. He based this on a statistics tool called Poisson distribution. He used examples of real conspiracy theories that have been proven true, such as the NSA's PRISM surveillance system, or the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, and the revelations of Dr. Fred Whitehurst about the FBI falsifying evidence. I've discussed a lot of this, my sort of thing. But his method generated some results. The moon landing hoax would have failed after a maximum of 3.7 years. The climate change lie would have lasted 3.4 years. And the V-word autism conspiracy just 3.15 years at the most. In order for the fake moon landings to have been covered up to the present day, 47 years, there would have to have been only 251 people on the inside. Clearly, there was much more involved. As you said, Charles, 400,000 at least. Dr. Grimes did speak to several people. He actually spoke to, who are sort of in the conspiracy. He actually spoke to Ian Henschel of the 9/11 Truth Movement, and of course our very own Marcus Allen. It all sounds very neat at first glance, but when you look at Dr. Grimes' system in more detail, you'll see that it misses out some vital factors. To begin with, the method always assumes that the people involved in the conspiracy fall into just two camps. 1. Active instigators, willing and malicious. 2. Completely ignorant innocents who would immediately spill the beans if they heard a peep about it. However, real conspiracies don't work like that. Compliance with a malevolent secret in an organization is maintained by far more subtle pressures like the herding instinct, tacit subconscious agreements, and veiled threats. And yeah, there's many examples I could give. I won't go through them all here. But look at Jimmy Savile. Look at Gilles Longto, and there's people like Gilles Longto and Kevin Annett and others, who are very brave, admirable people. They get drummed out of the profession, so essentially they're made an example of. They're crucified on the road to Rome, as like Spartacus, to warn the other slaves not to revolt. That it hammers home a very, very powerful psychological block. And it says here the rejection process usually involves financial ruin, social ostracization, loss of professional identity, and public shaming. Who was it that says? Somebody said, this is me, this is my writing actually, I wrote this. Who was it who said, and actually, most men will face an army before the scorn of their peers? It was a Roman guy, I can't remember what it was. The elimination of wayward individuals is always deliberately made very public within the organisation, and this serves as a warning to others not to rebel. And I mentioned the example of Spartacus. And look at Dr. David Bellamy. Dr. Grimes lacks knowledge of human psychology. Grimes' formula doesn't fit the Savile scandal at the BBC I mentioned. It's funny, these things are always subconsciously in my head, even when I'm reading back something I wrote a couple of years ago. Of course, this Jimmy Savile thing lasted at least 46 years. That's the length of time he was at the BBC. And he was doing his dirty deeds from day one. So the moon landing is even longer now. So it's become obvious that far more than 251 people were involved. He only got away with it because of a vast level of internal collusion. That's talking about Savile. The reactions from people like Esther Ranson, Johnny Rotten, and Janet Street Porter are exactly what I mean about tacit subconscious collaboration. And if you want to know what, just Google it. Just Google Jimmy Savile and put those names in front of you. And of course, as you know from Apology Texas, we discuss compartmentalization, the method of significantly reducing the number of people needed to know the whole story of any conspiracy by dividing them up into different pools of awareness and making sure they don't know what their own jobs really are their own jobs are really beyond their own pool. And of course, the perfect example of that is the Manhattan Project. So I think Dr. Grimes and yourself, Charles, need to take those factors into account. But you can read the article for yourself. I'll go into more details, and there's some background links as well there for you. So we carry on. Soylent Green live stream. Animal Auntie Bev. Ben, I will never regard Matt as a twat. He was the only caring individual who contacted me, genuinely concerned about the sudden silence of Rick Clay before his ultimate death. All right, Anna, well, Bev, okay, you've had a different experience with him than I did. I mean, to be honest, I don't have a problem with him regarding Rick Clay, other than he blamed Ian R. Crane and Henrik Palmgren for it, for basically exploiting it. He wrote a horrible article, which was a shameless defamation of their characters. But I'm not saying he didn't care about Rick Clay. And if you had a positive experience with him, that's good. All I know is that the way he treated those guys and the way he treated me when I tried to criticize him about that. And to me, he's unapproachable. After what we exchanged some emails and had a go at he had a go at me and said some horrible things about me. So did his wife, who I'd got on with perfectly well previously. I need some more dragon juice, guys. And that's a shame, because he was one of the first people I met at Probe. I got on with really well. And in the early Probe conferences, I actually did an interview with him, which I took down. I shouldn't have taken that down, actually. I should have left the interview with him up. I mean, I've done interviews with other people I've fallen out with since, and I've left them there. I haven't taken them down. I wish I hadn't done this time, but I was just angry. I was angry with him. I thought that was out of order. It's not right when someone simply does an interview talking about the tragedy of Rick Clay for this fucking arsehole to write an article called "Sucking on the Bones of Rick Clay," relating to Ian and Henrik, and the content of the article was sickening. But there you are. We've both seen different sides of him. Mr. Goodcat says here, oh, saddest movies a hospital porter reacts. He gives an example here. Requiem for a Dream, Dancer in the Dark, Come and See, The Plague Dogs, and When the Wind Blows. I've not seen all of those. I've seen Dancer in the Dark, which I think I mentioned. It's a musical by Björk, which is extremely upsetting and distressing. It's a musical. You always think musicals are going to be upbeat and happy. Well, this one is very... It's poignant and dismal and upsetting, and, as I said, extremely melancholy, actually. And what's worse is when she... I don't want to put in spoilers, but the ending, she doesn't behave like in a heroic manner at the end. She behaves as probably most people would. She's upset, in pain, and it's just heartbreaking to see her like that. Yes. When the Wind, I've never seen the cartoon adaptation of When the Wind Blows, but I've read the book by Raymond Briggs, which is about it's about an elderly couple, Mr. and Mrs. Bloggs, and they're living together in their house, and there's a nuclear holocaust, and how they live through it or don't live through it. It's that you're right. That is very, very. It's very, very upsetting. UFO Disclosure 2022, the year of the nudge. Crafty Nihilist says, first comment, sorry Charles. Charles says, bugger. So Crafty got in there first, that's it, yeah. And Crafty says, you know damn well, now you've said it won't happen this year, they're going to land on the White House lawn with MAGA hats on. Of course, Crafty, I know that, don't I? The reason I said that was to give him a bit of reverse psychology. And Charles says on the same video, and on it goes, day in, day out, night in, night out. Disclosure this year, disclosure in that ear. Don't you ever yearn for change? Disclosure in this ear, disclosure in that ear. Yeah. And here I am stuck in the middle with you. Do I ever yearn for change? Well, the only change I yearn for is to get it bloody done. As I said, I mean, this is the first year where I've been a little bit more cautious, and I've said, well, I can't see it happening this year, to be honest. Doesn't mean it's over, but it is, Charles says on the UFO Disclosure 2022, the year of the nudge, the Richard Dolan position. Hey, Ben, Richard hasn't been in any position since Tracy walked out, but boom tish. Oh, I'm sure he's picked up somebody else by now, probably someone equally nubile and gorgeous. Funny things about Pratts, they always get wonderful girls, don't they? Yeah. John Nolan says, what happened to her? Was she okay? And Charles says, she was a fraud herself who thought that latching onto Dolan would help her own ambitions to be a life coach. Unfortunately, Dolan is a bully, which Ben and myself can attest to. All right, Tracy Garbutt, I don't know much about Tracy Garbutt, Charles, so I can't confirm or deny what you're saying. I saw her give a very interesting lecture at Awakenings Manchester, and I didn't see her as a fraud. Apart from that, I don't know anything about her. I really don't. Dolan is a bully, which Ben and myself can attest to. Unfortunately, yeah, he's not someone I could get on with. In fact, when I last met him, as I've explained in previous videos, if I hadn't, I think I would have probably said something quite aggressive to him, or something like along those lines, which I can't say on YouTube. But the reason I didn't was because I had a press pass for the 2011 Exopolitics conference. You have to behave yourself when you do that. On another conference where we were at, I was actually the MC of that conference. This was the I believe it was the 2014 Exopolitics Expo, where I was actually the MC. And again, you can't go, reacting to people in that way when you have an official position at a conference and they're an official guest and speaker. But suffice to say, he's really, my experience of him socially, which is quite small, I've met him about 3 times, is he's extremely obnoxious and arrogant. And if someone else were to react in the way I would wanted to react, I wouldn't hold them back. And if I ever come across him again, in a non-official capacity, when I'm just like an ordinary delegate or just in some other situation. And if he behaves the way he behaved the last 3 times I met him, then I will react that way too. And that's all I can say on YouTube, of course. But suffice to say, he will not be happy with my response, and I believe he will deserve it. Yeah, he is a bully. When someone's like, when you're trying to have a conversation with someone and he keeps cutting across you to like chat up your girlfriend right under your nose. I mean, it's just, I think he's on the Abingdon Town Centre list along with Richard D. Hall and a couple of other people. Elizabeth Clayton on Year of the Nudge. I'm made up for you, Ben. I watched an old live stream the other day and Green Man went down on you. Oh, dear. Oh, was that the first one or the second one? Was it the one I popped? Because I popped one of the... Year of the Nudge. Ben, the old 49ers were not abducted by aliens, and if none of their route had been mapped, how did they know the name Papoose Lake and when they got there? Well, they didn't, you see. It was called that afterwards, but they actually went down Tickaboo Valley. It was unmapped, and these things didn't have names. In fact, the 49ers actually named some of these locations. In fact, Death Valley was a name given by the 49ers. Because so many of them died because they were trying to get to California. They were so desperate for the gold that some of them lost their lives. There's a lesson there, I think, for people who are very materialistic and you want to be rich so much you just risk your life to the point where you die. Is it worth it? A Year of the Nudge, Charles says here as well. On Ben, one cannot plant an artificial tree and expect it to grow because, artificiality. Well, I don't know if it was an artificial tree, Charles. I thought it might be a real one that they planted. Maybe they water it every so often to keep it alive. It's a real tree on a real golf course. Oh, is it? So there's actually some holes and flags and things on the lake bed, is it? Where they kick balls along, they whack balls along the salt. And it's just, I should know because I slaughtered Bob Lazar there. I slaughtered him. Oh, he's kept quiet about that one, hasn't he? Apollo Detectives 9. Well, Ben, are you satisfied now? You asked Steve Mumbling, nay, pleaded and begged him to come back. And now look what's happened. Total and utter destruction, humiliation, annihilation, devastation. Marcus Allen rocking in a corner with his head in his hands, staring at shoes, trying to figure out what hit him. It's over, finished, dead, buried, and sent into exile. You shall rule the day. Well, go on, start ruling. All right, well, Marcus did lift his head briefly to ask how this happened, and I had to tell him, Marcus, you have to blame me. I told Steve to come back. Yeah, he was quite happy that he'd given up and he'd gone away, and I said, Steve Mumbling, please come back. Yeah. So blame me for that, yeah. Richard Best says on Year of the Nudge, can we turn our attention to the British Bigfoot now for this year? The biggest Bigfoot now for this year now, Ben. Maybe an interview with Deborah Hatswell. All right, well, I have an interview with Deborah on HPANWO Radio, and indeed a recording of her talk to Dreaming Saucers on this channel. You can check her out. Just Google her name on the search. I haven't seen her for a while, actually, but I'd be happy to talk to her again and interview her again. Year of the Nudge. Marley Pumpkin. Oh, God, here we go. You live in a fantasy world. Really? I think I live in the real world and you live in a fantasy world. As they say, let me sit on the street in front of a desk with a sign saying, prove me wrong. Marley, if you're going to make points like that, a single 6-word sentence isn't the point. Why is that, eh? Why do you think? Why do I live in it? Why is what I say fantasy? Why do I live in that world? I heard a scrape up there. Is that Alan doing something? I don't know. All right. Year of the Nudge. How am I doing for time, by the way? Oh, blimey. 2.5 hours I've been going. We're nearly done with YouTube now. Insert Pie now says on Year of the Nudge, you put a lot of faith in Elizondo and the 3 vids, Ben. I think I think it's a calculated risk. I wouldn't say I put a lot of faith in. I put some faith in based on a calculated risk, yeah. I know very well that it could be. I know very well that it could be that they are shills and Richard D. Hall's right and everyone else is right. and who says this sort of thing. But, you know, the problem is these guys assume it's right and then they're 100% sure. That way they can't, you know, they're scared. I think they're scared of just being taken in, you know, so they was it C.S. Lewis said about the dwarfs? They're so keen not to be taken in that they can't be taken out. So essentially they miss these things out. As I said, you miss willing disclosure if you take this paradigm of prevention. However, I think my I've made an educated guess about Elizondo and the 3 vids and everything else, and I explain why in the videos that I've made in this series. Year of the Nudge. Red Cap Goblin says, more like Year of the Fudge, as they fudge the propaganda. Very droll, Red Cap, very droll. Year of the Nudge, Zephyrin Cochrane. Thanks a lot, another great episode. You're welcome, Zephyrin. Wannabe, Warbabe 1951 says on Year of the Nudge. Oh, it's just a waving hand. Thanks, Warbabe. Mr. Gianluca Viali, our Scottish friend, says, thanks for the upload, Ben. You're welcome, Mr. Gianluca Viali. Graham Butcher. Oh, Graham, I didn't know you were on YouTube. Graham, I know on, if it's the Graham I think of, I know him on Facebook. If it is Graham Butcher, the same guy on Facebook. But he says here, I agree with you, Ben. Disclosure is not going to happen this year or next. Just how it is, I'm afraid. Right, I think you are the Graham I know on Facebook, Graham. And as you know, I don't agree with you that disclosure is never going to happen next year or the year after. But I agree with you, I don't think it's going to happen this year. Oh, God, this is an old one. This is 10 years. I know this is 10 years ago because this is when I got sacked from the hospital. Now, Ben Emlyn-Jones live at the London David Icke discussion group, part 1 of 4. What Ben really means is I was involved in training. He drove a train into the hospital. In health and safety, Ben felt very safe and very healthy. His colleagues, not so much. Manual handling. He played Twister with the nurses. Oh, I wish it was some of them. I wouldn't mind. Because of my experience and this is me quoting, because of my experience and my ability to communicate that experience to other people. Nurses again, usually in the broom closet. Who do you think I am, Mick Jagger? Quote, I had a lot of respect for other people. Quote, he was friends with the Cray twins. I miss the staff and patients a lot. They owe him money. Year of the Nudge, Nation Lawrence says, thank you for the video. Salvatore Pais was being interviewed on TOA next month. That's Theory of Everything. Oh, with Kurt J. Mungle. All right. Interested to hear that. Looking forward to what he says. Me too, Nathan. Thanks very much for the information. Cosmic Claire says on... Now, I knew Claire was making this comment, actually, because she told me on Facebook. I've been watching a ton of videos by dark journalists and Gigi Young lately, and it's obvious that disclosure is a subject that goes way beyond simple alien spaceships. Yeah, it is, Claire, yeah. Breakaway civilizations, JFK assassination, Tesla, spiritual evolution of humanity and planet Earth, transhumanism and AI, Ahrimanic antichrist energies, and much, much more. Yeah, Ahrimanic refers to, I think that's Rudolf Steiner and his ideas about the Ahriman, which is the dark forces. It's very interesting, that, yeah. Steiner did it. He actually did a lecture in 1917, which someone actually recorded, not electronically in those days, but just wrote it down. It was turned into a very interesting book. Claire continues, so much more than this materialist paradigm that they want us to be locked into. Yeah. Claire was worried this comment might vanish, but it didn't. Liam Nicklin says on Sarah Everard update. Ben, I love listening to you. Your vids are great, mate. That cockerel at the end shouting sounds like it's shouting, fucking wake up! Yeah, thanks, Nick. Thanks, Liam. Yeah. Oh, we got a comments from the Lights of Low on Year of the Nudge. He says, I agree that RDH maybe places too much store in statement analysis. Therefore, perhaps we could ignore these findings. However, please also ignore those people who use lie detectors to prove or disprove things. It amazes me that certain individuals say, I've taken 3 lie detector tests and they all prove what I am saying is true. There is no proof that either statement analysis or a lie detector can provide 100% positive results. It's no good saying in the USA they use them, or 90% say this, etc. If you come across RDH using it, ignore that part. Similarly, If someone has witnessed an alien sighting, ignore their test too. You need to keep consistent. That's fair enough, Lights Were Low. In fact, I often refer to people like Bob Lazar, Larry Warren, talking about their lie detector tests. Now, I know very well they're not 100% accurate. I know they're not admissible in court as evidence. At least certainly in Britain they're not. But they are useful. I mean, I don't think we should ignore statement analysis entirely, particularly, especially if you're going to watch Rich Planet TV and you ignore statement analysis. You just get the opening credits and then the end, don't you? It's like a 5-minute program. But we should. All I'm saying is that we should use these methodologies holistically with other methodologies, rather than as a substitute for other methodologies. So we just throw out everything and we discard everything said by anyone, and then just go, right, I'm going to wheel in Peter Hyatt, and that's all I need. I think is the bad logic, the bad method. I think so. I think that's the sort of thing, isn't it? So I say use it in moderation. That's what I'm saying. Year of the Nudge, Steve071. I reckon the cork is staying in the disclosure champagne for another year, Ben. And you know what, Steve? This time I agree with you. I've been more optimistic in previous years, but not this time. Not as I said, not that I believe the entire process is over and we should just forget about it and that's it, chuck it out the window. Merely that I think it's going to be there is a lull set in right now, which I think is going to last at least 12 months. Afterlife TK says, your claim that the great and mighty Stefan Molyneux watches your channel because he once used a word that you also used is so funny that I wouldn't even know where to begin. Keep up the fine work. Oh, thanks, TK. And carries on. But you see, the reason I said that it was a particular catchphrase actually that I'd come across myself. I'd come up with myself, and I thought it was very witty. I put it on a video. It is the wokeists think that anyone to the right of Mao Zedong is a fascist or a Nazi. Yeah, anyone to the right of Mao Zedong is a Nazi. I thought that was quite amusing. I hadn't heard it anywhere else. It's something I just made up. Then Stefan uses it a couple of videos later on his channel. I thought, did he get it from me? And TK says, and on this thing about you having to leave the possibilities open and realise what you're talking about on HPANWO is not true, that you are as bad as the Ramonas. Yes, that's right. You are not better than those people who, as no matter what information you receive, you will never give up on this complete nonsense. Ghosts, free energy, blah, 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 blah. TK, no, I did actually say that everything I put across has to be falsifiable, which I made that joke about becoming a skeptic. But really, I do have to be open to the possibility that I might one day become a skeptic. Something might happen. A piece of information might come my way, or I might have something will click in my head and I will become a skeptic. Yeah. In the same way, I think all skeptics should accept that, not just in if I found the evidence, I do this, that, and the other, because then they just raise the bar. I just think they should actually be open to the possibility that even the hardest, most hardline, dedicated skeptic may undergo some kind of transformation. Probably not a massive, sudden Paulian, road to Damascus flash of light, but something more like Michael Shermer, something that creeps up on you gradually and just slowly shifts you. David Smith says on Nudge, where have your Apollo videos gone? They haven't gone anywhere. I saw your comment earlier and I checked and they're still there. And then Steve Mumbling says, I really can't imagine a PMSL. David says to Steve Mumbling, YouTube is really getting serious about misinformation. Let's hope it translates into less conspiratorial thinking. What? So, David, are you saying do you support the censorship of ideas like mine? Do you support YouTube just saying, well, we're going to get rid of what Ben says here because it's misinformation, and that's it. We're not even going to let you discuss it or look at it. We're not going to let you think about it. We're going to keep that information away from you. I hope not. I really do hope you don't believe that, because there's no way I would ever suggest that Christy Winters or Chris French or any of the skeptics, even Professor Brian Cox, I would never suggest that any of those should have their voices unheard, that they should be deplatformed. Never. So let me know, will you? Let me know. David Smith says on the nudge, still good news about James Webb. All right, yes. I might, if depending on what information comes from that telescope, I might do a video on it, because I'm wondering, are they going to point at a Tabby star? This is this new space telescope that's just been launched, which is way more powerful than anything else. It's going to give us a completely new vision of the universe. So that is good news, yeah. That's it for YouTube. I'm just going to cross to BitChute now. As you know, I don't, on BitChute, there's no kind of, so in terms, I should go back to the last comments reply video. You don't get actually notifications for comments on BitChute, and I'm afraid I can't go through every single video I've ever done, because that's what you'd have to do to pick up every comment, and that's something BitChute need to work on actually. But I am going to go through every video I've made since the last comments reply video and just see if there's comments on those. So, Kev Baker dies. Kev Baker, R.I.P. Armour Lane says, I've been watching Kev Baker for years. So sad to hear the news. Kev will be greatly missed by everyone. R.I.P. Yes, absolutely. And I hate my new jacket. That's the name of the user. Yeah, I've been a sub of his for years. Very sad, I know. It is. Thanks very much, guys. Soylent Green Watch Party introduction. What am I doing for time? I'm going to get inside 3 hours. Here we go. Or BBTT says, oh, it's just the latest broadcast. Let's have a look. The Self-Preservation Society, BBBT. All right, then.
Hello.
Oh, it's another video here. Okay. I'll check that out. All right, I might give you a sub if it's any good. But thanks, BBBT. I did sub to someone else who did that. Ramheli 35100 says, what a coincidence. Astana, Kazakhstan is the capital city of the New World Order. They're preparing the world for the transition to power. Soon the world will know the location of this disgusting New World government. It's just one source talking about Astana, Satana, many more images on BitChute or Roxy. I don't know Roxy very well, but BitChute is... Yeah, Mechanister TV, all right, I'll check that out. Astana is... Yeah, so Astana is the purpose-built capital of Kazakhstan. It's a very weird place. It's full of Illuminati symbolism. It's kind of like Milton Keynes writ large. So, next video, Soylent Green Watch Party review. No comments. Soylent Green Watch Party live stream. Wayland says, Soylent, for all your nutritional needs, why not try our new Soylent Green Jerky? Just like pork jerky, but contains no animal products. Not suitable for vegans. Well, Wayland, if you define animal in a more conventional sense, in other words, excluding humans, that would be right, wouldn't it? There are literally no animal products except for that from a certain upright hairless ape. Afterlife by Stephen Molyneux. No comments. And finally, Fazlane Escort Akula. Fazlane Escort Akula. This is a gaming stream I did, which I didn't put on YouTube. No comments. Yeah, if you follow me on Twitch, you can see my gaming streams. I don't do many of them, but I've done a few. I don't put them on YouTube. And finally, Year of the Nudge. No comments. That's BitChute sorted. Now we go over to Odyssey. Now Odyssey, I only get I've had no comments as such. Didn't see any of my notifications, but notifications only go back about 10 days. So I am going to go through, and I don't remember seeing any. But I am going to go through. I am going to go through my last few videos. So from Kev Baker. Okay. Oh, and someone Shelley of the Herd says here. I know he was a public figure. Sorry for your loss, Ben. And I said thanks. Let me just.
Hello.
Okay. Thanks very much, Shelley. That's appreciated. Oh, I should do the comments replies, shouldn't I? I should do the last comments replies. So part 1, 52 part 1, no comments. 52 Part 2. No comments. Okay. Soylent Green introduction. No comments. Soylent Green review. No comments. A live stream. No comments. Afterlife. No comments. Fazline Escort a Cooler. No comments. Year of the Nudge. No comments. Okay, that's it for Odyssey. That's it for Odyssey. Okay, so now we go on to Rumble. We have a Rumble tonight behind the bike sheds. Rumble. Okay. Right, my content. Kev Baker. No comments. Live stream. I didn't put the introduction onto Rumble for some reason. No comments. For some reason, part 2 of 2 of reply to comments, 52, is first. Oh, right, here we go. Fireballs are ETVs, says here. I'll put a little plus there. I appreciate people making a comment. Again, you don't get notifications, unfortunately. Oh, looks like... Oh, you can only make the comment once. All right, bugger, you bastards. Okay. Says, it was my attached video montage, archive.org web link, that inspired Stephen Greer to incorporate the info about full spectrum dominance in his documentary movies Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, believe it or not. Daniel Sheehan declassified videos used as a cover for the alien threat. Dr. Stephen Greer, full spectrum dominance and forbidden sigil magic. Oh, right. All right, your fireballs are ETVs. I'll just check out your channel here, and I'll probably sub to your... All right, I'll give you a sub here because you've got some stuff here that looks quite interesting. So there you go. I'll check out what you've said here. Okay. I did Kev. Did I do Kev Baker? I did Kev Baker. Okay, live stream. I'll do, Soylent live stream. No comments. 52 part 1 of 2. Don't know why that is again. No comments. Afterlife. I didn't put my gaming stream on there. No comments. And Year of the Nudge. No comments. Okay, that's Rumble done with. Let's go back to YouTube, do a refresh on the channel. Nearly done now. It's going to be inside 3 hours. Oh God, there's loads. 2 hours ago, Gary Robinson said, "Hey Ben, mate, really enjoyed this. Thanks. Not sure if you heard, but Richie Allen gave Kev Baker a mention on his show yesterday when he was interviewing Charlie Robinson. He also gave out Kev's GoFundMe, which I thought was cool to him to do that. Cheers. Yes, it was indeed. Yeah." John Fuse, Ben, is your boiler okay on Kev Baker? Yes, it's fine, John. Thanks. Is there a reason why it wouldn't be? Diego Rivera says on Year of the Nudge, V-word passports and restrictions to be scrapped in England. I've literally just heard before I came on. Maybe I should do like an article about that, or maybe I'll do a live stream. We'll see how it goes. Maybe do a live stream. Year of the Nudge, Lesbian eBay Wrestling said again. Oh, here we go. HPANWO is a PSYOP ran by a former government agent, NHS, who claimed to be fired, but funnily enough, there's no records of termination for the hospital where he was still employed. Hashtag Ben is a Fed. Dearie me, dearie me. What do I do? What do I do? I'll have to go and I'll have to go and get you my bloody pension thing from Superan, will I, and show it you. Bailey of Sight Blue, Lesbian also says here, yeah, right, the MI5 agent isn't paying his phone bill. Not really believable, not. Ben, you are an agent infiltrating our movement. Just admit it and apologise and end HPANWO. Stop saying stupid things like Paul is dead. He's not. I've met him. No, you haven't. You've met William Shepherd. And chemtrails aren't real when they very much are. What? I've never said chemtrails are not real. What the hell are you talking about? I think chemtrails are real. If you're not a Fed, prove it. MI5 shill. Ben the J.R. Porter. More like Ben the controlled opposition. Goodness me. I suppose you think you are being original, Les, Richard, whoever you are. Charlie, thoughts on the Las Vegas 2017 shooting? Right. Is that when someone shot bullets out of a hotel window? I don't know which one you mean. Lesby Ann says here on Year of the Nudge. Ben, I've just been watching GB News and who was on it. Oh, yeah, I watched. I'm a big GB News fan, Les. None other than Mr. Piers Corbyn, not Jeremy of the Labour Party fame, but his nutjob brother. I think, Les, I think the nutjob is the other one, Jeremy. Piers Corbyn is a brilliant guy. And he was listing his inspirations and he said, there is this nutjob on YouTube that I have seen called Ben the J.R. Porter. And then he goes on to slag you off right off. Made you look like a fool on national TV. Just thought I would let you know. Well, I'll watch that, Les, but I don't think... I've met Piers Corbyn and he was all right. He's quite approving of me. Jamelia Jackson says, so very sad, R.I.P. Hope he's doing well in the next realm he's visiting. Amen. Thanks, Jamelia. Thanks very much. Okay, I'll just do one more refresh. Right, not there. Okay, so now I'll do one more look at basically I'll go to the YouTube page notifications.
Retreated northward.
Shut up, Clive. Let's have a look here. And the last one was, Discerning Consciousness said, thanks, Ben. Okay. So that's it. Yeah, that's all of it. That's over with. Thank you very much for all your comments. Much appreciated. If it weren't for the comments, there would be no comments reply video, would there? By definition. So to keep an eye out, I will be doing another video pretty soon. I've got a feeling some events are going to catch up with us. For example, the Ukraine situation and the ending of Plan B, which means I'll have to do some kind of live stream or something similar. So keep an eye out for that. There'll be no videos probably this weekend because I'm doing so much else. But yeah, I'm actually Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m. Bond Square. I'll be speaking at the worldwide demonstration. 4 p.m. Friday, I'm going to be on the Billy Ray Show on Aftermath FM. Sunday, I'm recording with Trevor. That's the I've got what his YouTube channel's called, and we're going to be doing an interview. So all those are going to be happening this weekend. So check those out. So you probably won't get anything from me on this channel because I'll be too busy on other people's. Oh yeah, Friday. Also, I'm going to be on. I'm doing either a live stream or a recording with the one and only Agent Rin McKaylis. Yes, she's decided to go back to video, and she's invited me on. So check that out too. Thank you all of you for your comments. Thanks for watching HPANWO TV, all of you. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.